Harsha, we are live now. You have to unmute yourself. Harsha, you can start.
Guys, is Tota back in live? Hello, everyone. My name is Harsha Subhashana. I'm the head of human resources for HCL Technologies in Sri Lanka. First of all, I must thank all of you for connecting with us for this session through Facebook and YouTube. In fact, when you start the registration, we receive overwhelming response from all of you. Thanks so much for embracing us. This really shows there are many people looking to join the IT or maybe just continue their career in the IT sector as well. So for today, we have invited a few people to join us and share their knowledge with us during this entire session today. So how many people do we have? We have Tutatri Vakuntam, we have Michael Horton, Amrita Das, and also Dhananjay Hettiarachi. You can see the agenda on the screen right now, everyone. What's important is it's not just going to be one-way traffic. You can interact, you can ask questions from us, and even answer the question that we are asking from you. In addition to that, just stay with us. I mean, not only this, not only you're going to get to know a little bit knowledge from us, we also have certain giveaways to give it to you. So please interact with us, send your questions, your comments, and most importantly, please stay connected. Okay, enough me talking right now. Let's start this off with a nice video.
Good morning, Colombo. So tell me, how does your morning look like? Does it begin with a scenic view outside the window, enjoying the rain, and then catching up with your favorite ritual? While resolving a web application issue for a client sitting in Europe? Or maybe with a yoga session that keeps you energetic throughout the day until your housemates join in? While not missing on an important conference call with your colleagues sitting miles away. Or perhaps it's filled with action right when you wake up, followed by making breakfast for the A team in the kitchen, and also checking up with the other team about work. Work-life balance, you ask? For us, life at HCL Sri Lanka is more life than ever.
On that note, allow me to introduce our first speaker. He's the resident director and center head for HCL Sri Lanka, HCL Technology Sri Lanka, Totandu Vaikuntham. He has over 2 decades of experience in the IT industry. Graduate in the mathematics, postgraduate in field of computer applications. Totandu joined HCL in 2001 as a developer. Since then, he held many roles, moved to Colombo in 2019 to set up HCL in Sri Lanka. So there's also very active across industry associations and forums, and also part of SLASCOM and General Council. He's known for his sense of humor and people-first leadership style. With that, let's welcome Totatri to address you.
Hello all. Ayubowan to all the listeners today. Welcome to this session, and good morning to all of you, and vanakkam to all of you as well. I'm sure many of you have seen and heard and researched about HCL. You know who we are. But let me take a few minutes and we'll put up a few slides very quickly to introduce who HCL is. Yeah. So HCL Group started way back in 1970s, 1976. And I would take a few moments to introduce you to HCL. Can we move on? Yeah. So we are 10.5 billion US dollars revenue company. We have 176,000 employees, talents around the world, right? And we call them ideapreneurs. Each of our employee in the company are people who contribute to technology solutions to our customers and are ideapreneurs at heart. So we look for innovations and we celebrate new ideas that come in. We are present in 50 countries around the world, right? And we opened our Sri Lanka center less than a year back in September last year. We have employees from 160 nationalities. And in the world's best employer survey, we are number 30 in the world globally, and we are number 1 out of India. We have quite a few leadership recognitions by various analysts, and we are one of the fastest growing large technology companies in the world. We started our journey here in Sri Lanka in September last year, and we have some of the best in-class customers and clients for whom we are giving world-class solutions, and those are some of the solutions that we have brought to Sri Lanka as well. We are also very proud of the fact that we are number 1 in the environmental, social, and governance score. So we'll talk a little more about it as we go along. While we are very proud of the growth that we have seen, right? We are, as I said, a $10 billion company. We are even more proud of the fact that our customer satisfaction survey scores, we call it CSAT, have been steadily growing for the last decade. The CSAT score is actually a survey done by a third-party company. And we get multiple companies get scored from a scale of -7 to +7. So the scores that you see on the right are the scores from a -7 to +7 scale. And we have been steadily growing in these scores. And this gives us great delight, right? And it's proof that the solutions that we provide, the loyalty and the advocacy that we have, and the customer delight and satisfaction that we create with all the customers is at core of the solutions that we provide to them as well. What do we do, right? As a company, what do we do? These are the 3 broad buckets, right, that HCL Technologies provides. We were an IT services company till around 5 years back, and we have now become a technology solutions company. Let me elaborate what I mean by that. The box on the left that you see contributes to 70% of the revenues of the 10 billion that HCL generates. These are some of the core services, IT services that we provide to our customers, and they include digital foundation services. services such as getting the servers and the infrastructure up and running to their best optimum performance, basically making sure that the networks, the security solutions, all the infrastructure services, the cloud solution, the virtualization, all that is running at its peak performance for our customers. So these customer boxes are managed by HCL remotely. A typical global Fortune 500 company, one of the customers for HCL, a typical customer for HCL, will probably have 20,000 to 30,000 servers and upwards. So that's the complexity of the work that I'm talking about. It also, apart from the foundation services, also includes digital business and operations, digital operations. What we mean by that is a typical application development or an application maintenance or enhancements, systems integration solutions, and new technology solutions, converting existing application to become digital, giving a better experience for the consumers of our customers. These are some of the services that we provide. We have more than 25 labs around the world, and this is where we innovate the solutions for digital foundation, digital business, and digital operations. The middle part of the solution, engineering and R&D services, that's actually the core of the company, right? So in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, HCL actually started off with engineering and R&D. That's our DNA. And we are, incidentally, number one in the world in providing engineering IT solutions and R&D solutions. The one on the right, products and platforms, is the new kid in the block, new entrant, so to say, right? It's just 4 years old, 4.5 years old. And it's one of the biggest contributors to the growth. It's a high growth area for us. We have more than 150 products and platforms that we have grown in-house, and a few of them inorganically as well. And we provide these products and platform solutions to customers around the world. So that's, in sum, all the IT services, solutions, technology solutions that we provide to our customers. Now, let me talk about the various verticals, the various industries that we support, and what it means to all of you who are listening today. You will see pretty much all the verticals, the industry verticals here, right? From financial services on the left to manufacturing, other technology and services, to telecom, media, entertainment, to retail, to public services, government solutions, to life sciences and healthcare. These are some of the solutions verticals that we offer solutions. As you will see, we are talking about Fortune 500 companies. And if you take financial services, 5 of the top 10 top global banks are HCL customers. Similarly, 11 out of 25 fintech are HCL customers. 7 out of 10 manufacturing, process companies are HCL's customers. Now, what it means to you is these are the various customers, projects, solutions that we are migrating from around the world to Sri Lanka. This is what we have been doing in the last 1 year. And we hope to see you join us. And when you join us, these are some of the cutting edge solutions that you will provide to our customers worldwide. So this is a quick snapshot of where we are around the world. We have 50 countries, as we discussed. What gives us great pride is that in each of these geos, 73% of the employees are local, right? So we set up delivery centers in each country, and we grow people, we grow the company basis the local people we have. Like today, in Sri Lanka, can you move on to the next slide? In Sri Lanka, we've, as I said, started in September. These are some of the snapshots of our company. When we started in September, we had close to around 30 employees, right? We are 850 plus people today as headcount, and our plans to grow in Sri Lanka is close to 1,500 people every year, right? So we aim to achieve 5,000 in the next 3 years. We have 45 plus customers, which are currently delivered around the world, and we have migrated and transitioned them to Sri Lanka. And these 850 new ideapreneurs of HCL are contributing to these solutions. I'm sure a few of you would have seen the recent news. We are currently based out of Orion City, but the recent news of we taking up a new space out of Cinnamon Life, one of the buildings that we have taken from Colombo too. So that's going to be our second center in the city, and that is going to go live later in this year. We have close to around 45 plus customers, Fortune 500 customers that we are servicing from Sri Lanka today. You can expect some of the best infrastructure that you would want in an IT industry. But what we are really proud of is the asset that we really hold very close to our heart is all the people who join us. So this exercise of the 850 people who have joined us and today's event, of all of you, we welcome you to the event. We welcome you to go through the selection process. And I hope to see you join us, and you will be one of the biggest assets that we hold very close to our heart. With that, that's a very quick introduction of HCL and HCL in Sri Lanka. With that, let me move on to the event today. I would like to introduce Michael Horton, to all of you very quickly. Mike, as we call him, Mike joined us in February 2014. He is an executive vice president and the country manager for HCL in Australia and New Zealand area, in the ANZ area. Michael brings with him 30 years of experience within the global IT delivery and sales organizations. At HCL, his responsibilities include client relationships, sales, revenue, margin, as well as overseeing the successful delivery of our company's full range of services to all the industry verticals that we talked about. Mike holds a master's in IT from Charles Sturt University in NSW, New South Wales. He's a project management institute PMI certified and a certified professional and fellow member of the Australian Computer Society. He's a keen surfer and a sailor and a member of the Royal Perth Yacht Club. Mike, we look forward to you visiting us. I'm sure you will have some of the best times doing surfing in the world's best surfing areas in Sri Lanka. With that, Mike, I would like to have a quick discussion with you for the next few minutes.
Sure, Toto. First of all, I'll check that you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Fantastic. Well, thank you for the introduction, Toto. And everyone's very kind. I've actually been in IT for 40 years this year. So I started in 1981 in IT. So it's been quite a journey. Yes, and I have been to Sri Lanka. We were very lucky enough to stay there on the beach, and unfortunately I didn't get to go surfing. I wanted to go surfing, but there wasn't time available. But yeah, Australians love Sri Lanka for many reasons, and surfing's one of those reasons. So I'm sure you'll see us back there as soon as we're able to travel again.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. Mike, it's wonderful having you here in this session. Thank you for your time. Let me quickly start off. Mike, you joined us, as I said, in 2014 as a country manager. Can you tell us about your journey in HCL and any interesting anecdote that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, sure, Toto. So in 2014, I was approached by a recruiter, and they were asking me if I would be interested in a company called HCL, and I didn't know anything about HCL. I'd never heard about it. So at first I said, no, I'm not interested. Thanks, Mr. Recruiter. I'd been working for an American company for 20 years, and I thought I would stay with that company until I retired. Anyway, what happened was I told my wife about the call from the recruiter, and she was Googling HCL. And she said, I think you need to pay attention here. I think you need to go back and have a look and find out a bit more about this. And so I went and did the research, and I ended up calling the recruiter back and saying, yep, let's have a discussion. And a few months later, I was able to join HCL. So for me, it was a massive change. And something that I've learnt about throughout my career is that, particularly in IT, you always continue learning, and you must always continue learning to keep current, keep present. And you also need to be able to stretch yourself and do something completely different at times so that you can grow and continue to grow. And so for me, I was way out of my comfort zone. I didn't know any Indian people. I'd never been to India. The whole concept was totally different for me. But as it turns out, the company and the people were so welcoming. And it was, for me, it was just like one big party from the very start. So which was really good. And so now I don't even think about HCL being an India company because it's a global company, and things have changed a lot in that. So it'll be 8 years that I've been with HCL next February, and things have changed massively. And the main change at a global level has been the growth. It's been extraordinary, and we are one of the fastest, if not the fastest, growing IT organisations in the world. There's so many new services and products constantly coming to the fore. So every year there's been massive change, but it's been a hell of a ride, Toto, and a really enjoyable one. So
Wonderful.
and it's helped keep me young as well, which is good.
Keeps you running, right? Keeps you running.
Keeps me running. Yep.
Yes. Mike just said he didn't know about HCL, but his wife knew, and I think all married men knows that listen to your spouses, listen to your wife. They know a lot more than what you think. Right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, they can find anything on Google.
Mike, so can we dwell a little deeper about the journey you've had in ANZ? Many, it's been 7-8 years. So what kind of skills and technologies, what kind of customers and solutions do we support from the ANZ region?
Yeah, sure. So when I started, HCL in Australia was reasonably small and quite unknown in the market. We did have some very good contracts. There was a very good contract with a major bank in Australia, which had a lot of staff working for it. We did have a good contract with a large dairy company in New Zealand. So there was a very good base there, and there was probably at the time 20 or 30 customers. They were mostly centred out of the major centres, Sydney, Melbourne, and Auckland. In most of the other cities, we really didn't have a presence. And where I live in Perth in Western Australia, there was only one other person, and he had joined a few months before me. So he was the first salesperson to join in the region, and we shared a little room in a serviced office. So it was pretty humble beginnings. But since then, we've grown significantly. We've been able to win work. We also did an acquisition last year, but now where we sit, we've got around about 2,500 people onshore in Australia and about another 3,500 to 4,000 at offshore that support Australian customers. And the key areas are still financial services. So I mentioned the bank, but we've also branched out greatly into state government. We're moving into federal government now. We do a lot of work for travel and transport and logistics. Some of Australia's largest retail organisations we do work for. A bit of healthcare. So right across all of the verticals and all of the services that HCL delivers globally, we're able to do that here. It's been an exciting journey, and every year we've got an uplift in the size of the work that we're doing, the amount of local capability, And at where we sit at the moment, we need a lot more people to facilitate that growth. So very much looking forward to lots of people there in Sri Lanka joining us, because we do use Sri Lankan delivery for servicing Australian customers, and we need ever more people to help us do that. Yeah.
Wonderful. One other common trait, Mike, about Sri Lanka and Australia, both of these countries love cricket. And we have a lot of things in common when it comes to cricket. So a few of the people may not be aware that we work with Cricket Australia. Can you tell us briefly what work we do and any insights that you have on that?
Yeah. Well, something I learned very quickly when I joined HCL as well is that cricket is not just a game, it's a religion. And it seems to sit alongside religion. And so there seems to be religion, HCL, cricket, or that order changes around quite often.
Exactly. Yes.
So Cricket Australia is a very interesting organisation because it is a not-for-profit organisation. So a lot of sporting organisations tend to be for-profit, and therefore, they're looking at the game a different way to what Cricket Australia is. And so the ethos of Cricket Australia is to further the game of cricket. And that's what they want to do. That's their base need and want. And that's what they're created to actually do. So they did have an app, but it was a very basic one. It was really just like they'd taken the website, the Cricket Australia website, and made it web and app enabled. So we sat down with them. We went through what they wanted to achieve, and it was pretty clear. So first of all, fan participation, fan connection, their enjoyment was a key thing. And so we were able to revamp that app and also bring in other feeds. So when people come in to watch a game, they'll go in through Cricket Australia app into KO or Fox Sports or whatever the streaming provider is. And originally there was quite a bit of traffic through their websites and through their app, but it was in the maybe from the high hundreds of thousands to just over 1 million and a bit a year. But with the revamp of the app, the amount of traffic now has significantly lifted, and everyone that follows Cricket Australia has got that Cricket Australia app on their phone, and I believe a lot of people internationally also have that app on their phone. And they on a one day international, when we first went live with the revamp, there was 1.5 million hits in that first day. So it was a significant uplift. Wonderful. And so that was one side of it. So it was the fan participation to increase how the interaction was from the fan base. But the other app that they've got going, which is now what we're concentrating on, is what they call a grassroots platform. So that's the My Cricket platform. And what that's about is enabling the local teams, the community teams, the school teams to be able to run their cricket team from the app. So they can do their ground bookings, they can do their scoring. The scoring side of things is just about to start. So that replaces the big books that everyone's used to using. You'll be able to send out all your team messaging. It also allows the teams to load up, data on their players, load photos. It means that grandparents that perhaps are sitting in India can have a look at their kids playing, their grandkids playing in Australia, see how they're going with their match, check their score, check any photos that are getting loaded. So in the early days of this, at one point we were getting 25,000 hits per minute to this app, and that was before its further enhancement. So we have, through digital, we have been able to really turn around the fan base enjoyment and also the participation side of things with the sport. And it'll only increase and improve from there. And there's been many other spin-offs, and with the lockdown that occurred with the pandemics, etc., where the crowds weren't able to come to the ground, though the app was very heavily used so that people could still keep up with what's going on, watch live, etc. So it came at a good time for Cricket Australia. It helped them that they were suffering financially, and I'm sure all of this has helped them get through, survive well. And I think the future is very bright for the organisation, and proudly it's because of the help from HCL. So it's been very good.
Wonderful. Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Very insightful, Mike. Moving on to a few technology-specific questions that our viewers may have today. Quite a lot of the people who have joined in today are from the ICT field or interested in getting into the ICT field. We are hearing quite a bit of digital as a word, right? Digital in the last few years, and a lot of digital transformation, especially after the COVID pandemic, as you said a little while back.
Yeah.
Can you tell us your views on what this is and how it has affected the industry? Has it affected for the better, or is it getting worse?
It's absolutely for the better, Surato. So the whole thing of digital is about access to data. And in the past, when we go, when I started way back, I first started in IT in a bank, and at that point, the banks didn't have networks. Networks didn't exist. So everything was paper-based. We were transferring stuff around physically, like people would drive from bank branches to bring the checks to the main processing center, all of that. So you had stranded data. If a customer went from one branch to another, there was no data. The people didn't know how to service them, what their background was, what their needs were. So again, it was very isolated data. So what we have now is data that's accessible. So obviously cloud technologies have enabled that, and we're able to do things with the data that's never been able to be done before. And the rate of organizations doing their digital transformations is accelerating all the time. And this is why we've got such a demand for resources at present. And it won't slow down. It absolutely will not slow down. And there's a lot of it, like the more commercial industries, like I was speaking the example of banking, financial services, have been the early adopters of the digital transformation. So, where it's critical for the business to survive competitively, they've had to move very quickly. And we saw, so with the pandemic, it was like for many organizations and the lockdowns, if it wasn't for their IT systems and their digitized IT systems, the company just would not exist. The IT platform became the company, and it was so critical for them. So for the, another example is for the grocery stores, so the supermarkets, having to move to online shopping. There was one supermarket a large supermarket company that we were doing work for, and we just prior to the pandemic, we had done quite a massive upgrade of their digital front ends, and they had gone from being able to have, when we first started work on it, they were able to run, I think it was no more than 800 concurrent transactions. So at any split second, only around about 800 people could be placing an order. And we lifted that to 15,000 concurrent transactions, and that's lifted again since then. And it was done just in time. Like none of us obviously knew that the pandemic was coming, but had that not been done, I don't think that supermarket chain would have survived. But not only did they survive, they went very, very well, and probably had all-time record throughput for orders and sales, etc. So that's the sort of improvements that's happened. There are other industries, and one that stands out to me a lot that I'm really keen that we do get in and see if we can do something about is healthcare. So I don't know about in Sri Lanka, but healthcare in Australia is still non-digitised, is still using IT infrastructure from the 1990s. And I know that for sure because the local hospital, my son was admitted last year just for a minor thing. And I went in there and there was applications that I had managed to implement in 1997. And when I went in there, I was flabbergasted to see these applications still running. Nothing had changed. So it's extraordinary. And even now, we're speaking to chains of hospitals who are still doing paper-based admissions. The medical records for individuals is still paper-based. If a patient gets transferred from one hospital to another hospital, they have to courier the medical record over for the patient, which is just incredible. So I think there's so many good things that we could do to improve the healthcare side of things. So that's one area I'm really keen that we get stuck into because it needs a huge uplift. So yeah, a lot of work to come. A lot of work has been done, but there's decades of work to go.
Yeah. So it's actually an opportunity for all of us in IT.
It is.
Than anything. Yeah. There's quite a lot of opportunity that's thrown in. Mike, I can relate to what you're saying. I can tell you from my personal experience, I think it's been 3-4 years since I have physically visited a bank. And, going back 15-20 years, it sounds so surprising. It's a transformational change that you can actually get to do all your banking needs sitting at home, and there's no need to sit. So that's the power that these solutions, the digital transformation, has brought in, especially in BFSI. But I get what you're saying. There are a few other industry verticals that can catch up with this, and that's the opportunity for us as well, right? As an IT company, there's quite a lot that we can do. And all the listeners who are joined us today, that's pretty much what we will be focusing in, getting it better for our customers.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a lot that we can do that improves people's lives, communities' lives, etc. So we can change industries, we can change people's lives, we can change economies. We've got that power. Yeah.
So in my many conversations here in Sri Lanka, Mike, some of the questions that comes to me are, I want to be in this technology, right? So they've got this primarily from the freshers, the people who are getting entrance into the industry.
Yeah.
And they have developed a sort of an affinity towards something, either basis what they learned or the their natural affinity to a particular programming language or the type of work as well, right? Some of them actually like maintenance work a lot, and a few actually dislike maintenance work. Right? Partly it could be definitions and their understanding of what it is. But the two follow-up questions. One is, can you also tell us what are the various technology trends that you're seeing in the recent 3-4 years in IT industry? And the other follow-up is specifically on the maintenance. What is the relevance of maintenance in this digital transformational era in the last 3, 4, 5 years? How is it going to change from now on?
Yeah, sure, Thoto. So when you look at what's happening, like we are starting to see a lot of microservices areas starting to come into organizations. So what I'm saying there is where you've got a corporate system, ERPs, etc., is very hard to institute change or bring around change. And if one particular department in a certain geography wants their applications to work differently, look differently, it's very hard when they're dealing with a large corporate ERP system. So microservices allow them to do that. So they can make those changes in that area there. And it also fits very well with agile practices. So, most of our development work for our customers is done following agile practices. So that fits very well with it. But what is happening at the moment is, first of all, the digital acceleration means there's been a huge demand for people to actually do the coding, implement these systems, maintain the systems. And it's probably not sustainable. There's not enough people that we can train that's going to support all of this. So my own opinion is that organizations will look for something that they can do different that can relieve that bottleneck of not enough resources. So I think we're going to see a lot more of the low code, no code type environments start to come about.
Yeah.
And that would also help facilitate these microservices so that the individual departments can, have their own customized applications that still interact quite well with the ERPs, don't end up, being an island, but it just gives them a lot more flexibility and speed to make those changes, have those new applications. So when we look at low code, no code environments, immediately you think, well, does that mean that all of these IT workers are going to be out of a job? No, exactly. I don't think so. Because someone has to code the no code environment. Someone has to create it. Someone has to maintain it. But what it will mean is that the pressure will be off as far as, the numbers of people that we will need. And, we're seeing our head counts grow dramatically at the moment. Personally, what I think that will plateau a little bit. And probably what you will find is that those same numbers of people will be covering a lot more as far as customers, what they can implement and support. And the same is going to happen in maintenance. So maintenance is continually getting automated. AI is doing a lot of it. So again, you're going to see a lot less effort required to maintain an environment. And it means that those people, you're still going to have people running that, but it means, one person can cover a lot more servers than what they did in the past. And that's been the case, going back all the decades. So, I think that's the way that things are heading immediately at the moment. So, I think those low code, no code environments we'll see really starting to take hold in the next few years. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if you agree, Tota.
Yeah, very true. The kind of maintenance work and the skill sets required by say 15, 20 years when I started off in a few projects, solutions that I provided, to the kind of skills that is required for the maintenance work today has grown tremendously. So even when we talk about maintenance, while we have no code, low code solutions, the skill set of the IT, ICT developer is become more and more complex, more so because of the automation that you talked about. So most of the simple code changes are now automated to a large extent, and those are not coming. So the complexity of application services and maintenance work from a people perspective has also increased tremendously, as I see. Mike, any comments from you on that?
Yeah, I agree. And there's so many new products and new languages that come out all the time. And on the digital side of things, it's driven a lot of new tools and products. And so, I go back to what I said when we started, people just have to keep learning, because just because someone's been doing coding for 20 years doesn't mean they're going to be effective in a Pega environment. You may have someone that's been in for 2 years that's probably going to be more effective because they've learnt the environment much faster. So, it's an ever learning, ever changing, and it will continue to change. There's no doubt about it. There is pockets of, things that have been running for years, and mainframes, obviously, still running. It was mainframes that I originally started working on when I started in IT. And those same systems, code-wise, are still running and will keep running. All of the world's financial services, defense, governments are still using mainframe based technologies, and they might be running on modern environments, cloud enabled, etc., but that base code is still there. SAP systems is a big one, and I think for the next, 2027 is the stop of support for ECC6, and there is so many organisations that have got huge SAP systems running on these old versions that need to be upgraded, need to be moved to cloud, need to move to S/4HANA. So there's going to be a massive amount of work in SAP over the next 3, 4, 5 years. And then typically what happens, everyone puts it off to the last minute, and then we just won't be able to get the resources to do the work. And they hold off because it's expensive to do it. And I think as we come out of the pandemic, we need to be encouraging our customers to move early. Otherwise, they're going to get stuck. I'm sure, though, SAP will extend the support. I think SAP is a big area.
Yeah, I agree. Wonderful. Mike, you started off by saying in IT, there was a sea change for you. Continuous learning is very important, especially in this industry. HCL actually pays a lot of importance to emphasis on skilling, upskilling, learning and development opportunities.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you had experienced and what is the impact that you see on our employees? Quite a lot of the viewers here would be keen to understand that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I've learnt a lot in the last year because we started our Tech B program in Australia. And from that, I've learnt how much collateral, the courseware, the sophistication of the courses that HCL has. I've not seen anything like it before. And the speed at which the young people can be trained and clearly have those skills is excellent. And when you team that with the university degrees, I think you're going to have a very well-rounded person. And so with the Tech B program, my understanding, obviously I haven't been through it myself, but you start out for your first few months doing your general IT training, and then people start to specialize. And the specialization comes about through what people want to do, obviously, what their aptitude is, what they're suited to do, but also the needs of the customer and the particular geography or the city that they're in, etc. Also drive, what opportunities are there as well. But from what I can see, the specializations, the courses as they break out into the specializations, very detailed, completely up to date. I would say, market leading at the moment, for sure. And it seems to improve very fast. Ambika and the team are just doing amazing work. So, if anyone there's going to come into this program, I don't think you can get a better start. And, I've mentioned previously the way I started in IT was through a Tech B type program. Again, with the bank, it was, back then it was for a different reason. There wasn't IT degrees. They didn't exist at that point. You could do computer science, but there wasn't anything else. So the banks at the time had to train their own people, and we went through training programs. But back then, you had a book and people wouldn't have seen them, but a videotape. You had to push in and watch the video. So the sophistication of the courseware now is so far ahead, and people will be able to learn much better from it.
Wonderful. Yeah. Mike, another discussion that I generally have with our employees and a lot of the new entrants when I get a chance to discuss with them is the question is on what soft skills are important. And I always look at it from an entrant, a fresher perspective, and somebody who is, say, in the middle management and aspiring to be a senior management person. what are the soft skills that they should pick up? What are the soft skills that they should have and they should hone to be successful, especially in our industry?
Yeah, it's very interesting because people who are naturally good at mathematics and engineering type things generally are probably a little less forward on the communication. You know, they won't speak as much perhaps as someone that, and you know, people may have looked into the concept of left brain thinking and right brain thinking. And so the ones that are more artistic tend to be more articulate and they will talk a lot more fluently. So, you know, for people to communicate is very important. And if you're naturally disposed to communicating, it comes easy. So fair enough. But many of our engineers are not naturally disposed that way. But you can, with practice, improve that. And so I would encourage people as they start out, and we're doing this with our Tech B groups that are coming in Australia now. From the very first day, we're encouraging them to interact with their peers as much as they can, push themselves out of their comfort zones, get on, like, it'll, you know, to start with, a lot of it will be virtual. In Sri Lanka, perhaps you'll be able to get the face-to-face, but push yourself out to communicate with your peers, and you will find that people are very welcoming. They're open to talk to each other, and very soon you'll have friends within the workplace, and it will help you. Because at times you will have questions, and you're afraid to ask questions or whatever. Don't be afraid, and you know, if you've got a friend that you can talk to, it will help a lot. So I would encourage everyone from the very first day to speak out, get on video. Don't worry about what you look like on video, etc. You know, we all think that we look silly on video, but it's not the case at all. And get comfortable with it. And at first you won't be comfortable with it, but you will over time.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Great advice, Mike. We used to run a program called Speak Up.
Yeah.
It's just to encourage people to be more open. And we say there's no right or wrong questions, right? Speak up, and then over a period of time, as you said, it'll become second habit.
Yeah. No,
Mike, one last question from me. I would like to know, from your personal experience in your career, the last 30 years, what are
40 years.
40 years, I'm sorry. 1 decade of experience, right? 1 decade of experience. My sincere apologies. So in your 40 years of experience, personally, what are some of the personality traits that you've had that have been success factors? Many young people, and I sometimes think when I started off, Mike, I wish somebody had, told me a few secrets that I had followed from day one, which I had picked much later. So I would like our audience to get that wisdom from you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think the most important thing is to get to know yourself and understand yourself. I don't think I really understood myself until I was probably in my late 30s, and it came about when I was doing it was like an extension course at Melbourne Business School. And what they did is they profiled you psychologically, which was a bit daunting at first, but it was the first time that I really got to understand myself. And everyone has a different profile. And what you need to work out is where your strengths and your weaknesses lie. And my profile was an unusual profile in that. So what they explained to me was that I was actually a very outgoing person, but I withdrew. And I was and through all the studies, they explained that I was withdrawing because I was trying to hide my capabilities so that people wouldn't seek me out and latch onto me. So it was a stress prevention thing that I was doing. And when I got home, again, my wife, I spoke, explained it to her, and she said, "Yeah, that's exactly what you do. You shut up and sit in the corner so that people don't know what you can do." But what this guy did, and he was a psychologist, he said to me that with your profile, it's your sacred duty to help others that are less capable than yourself, because you're very capable, but you need to get off your backside and go and help people. And it was the best advice that I'd ever had. And it came about because for the first time I understood how I worked in my head.
Yeah.
So if people get an opportunity, find out about yourself, how you work. Like I said, everyone has different profiles, and understanding your profile, you'll be able to maximize your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. So that would be my advice. And it's not an easy thing to do, but it's very, very helpful.
Okay. So I would like to inform all the people that we have more than 2,000 plus live audience listening to us. Mike, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you. Thank you for your time and your words of wisdom. I learned quite a bit, continuous learning, adopting new technologies as it comes. IT industry is going to change. And we as participants in the industry, providing solutions to our customers, will have to be dynamic and adapt ourselves. Communication and speak up are key, and know thyself. Mike advised us to know yourself. While it may not be easy, and keep practicing it, and it will help play to your strengths. Thank you, Mike, once again for your time, and thank you all of you. Over to Harsha.
Thanks, Oda.
Thank you.
Digital transformation and how it really helped the global pandemic situation for many industries, as I said earlier. And it really shows exactly how much far that IT sector can do and how we can really help the world. It's also a good tip for our listeners as well. I mean, if someone's planning on joining the IT, do I have a good product? Do I have a great future here? The growth potential is really, really massive. And also, Tota, thank you for leading the conversation as well, the discussion with Mike. And you also mentioned about the growth plans in Sri Lanka as well. 1,500 new people per year. That could be you. That could be just joining us and just working with it, just to moving this company from this to the other end. We are also working with looking for experienced people, even freshers as well. So please get in touch with us, and we'll see how we're going to move from that end. Okay, guys, let's move on to our first session. It's quiz time. Okay. On the screen, we're going to show a question for you. And then before that, we're going to show you certain guidelines. Please go through it. Understand what are the guidelines are and how this is going to go, how we can just select the correct answer, and how can actually going to submit your answers for us. And the first question is, which month of the year 2020 HCL Technologies office in Colombo was inaugurated? Was it in April, June, September, October? We have a limited time slot for you. So be fast, understand the question, and answer your questions. Time is ticking already. So if you're going to be very fast and answer this question, and someone who's going to answer the question right, we'll have a good goodie bag coming from HCL all the way to your place. Hurry up. Okay. It's time for our next speaker as well. To introduce the next speaker, I'm going to call Nilusha Veeratunga. Nilusha is one of our HR business partners and have been in the company since the company started in Sri Lanka. Nilusha, over to you.
Thank you, Harsha. Good morning, everyone. Like Harsha introduced, my name is Nilusha. So it's my pleasure today to introduce one of our leading women in HCL Technology. She is the head of global total rewards and talent management for HCL Technologies with over 175,000 workforce. She has a track record of driving change in the domain of total rewards and talent management, especially in the high-tech industry that reflects both the business demands and the market reality. In her leadership, HCL has won a couple of awards in talent management practices. Our career framework was one of the winners in Best Talent Management Practices of Asia Awards. She is a postgraduate in business management from IMI Belgium with over 2 decades of experience in various domains in HR. She loves to travel and explore new places and cuisines. She believes in loving the job, what she does with all passion and ownership. This helps her to balance her work life by creating teams which are empowered. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Amrita Das, Vice President, Enterprise HR. Hello, Amrita.
Hi, thank you, Nelusha, for a wonderful introduction. And good morning to all the listeners and viewers and the aspirants for HCL. Glad to be with all of you.
I think, Amrita, we have over 2,000 plus online viewers. So it's a great audience we have today. So I'm so glad that I'm getting to have this conversation with you. So let me start off. So I just would like to know, so you joined HCL way back in 2008 as part of the HR team. So from day one till now, how has your journey been so far?
So I think very difficult question is to actually understand what has been. There has been no respite. It's been a very engaging and a very good time I have with HCL for last 13 years now. It doesn't feel like it is 13 years because every year has been full of lot of challenges and new assignments and new things we have done for HCL. When I joined HCL, we were 7,000 odd people at that point of time with a $5 billion as a revenue, and we grew over last 13 years into multiple folds. We are into 175,000 people across the world in 50 plus countries today. With a very diverse workforce, very inclusive work culture. We have truly traveled our journey, I would say, from a garage startup to become a global organization today. If you look at a workforce outside India, you would see different setups, different kind of people from different backgrounds, and the way they have come together as part of the HCL overall is just amazing to see. How people are integrated, how people are chasing one particular dream together, and so it's absolutely amazing to just kind of remember the last 13 years. I've seen growing infrastructure business from a $1 billion business today to $3 billion business, and similarly other businesses of ourselves where we have come up the value chain, the way we have changed our HR constructs, the way we have changed our policies globally, our recruiting practices, all have I have seen the transitioning from in the able leadership of a lot of our leaders. Some of them, obviously Vineet and Anand and CVK, who's currently obviously with us. It's been just a very great journey for me personally in terms of learning and learning new things in the entire HR domain.
That's actually amazing, and I think for most of us in Sri Lanka also, we are looking forward to have a similar experience, and it's sound exciting as well to know that we've grown from a garage startup and to where we are now. It's huge. So with your 13 plus years of experience, and with from where we were today, and you travel globally, you work globally as well. What is the common thread you find in HCL that's similar across regions and geographies?
So I think more than what we are known as an employer, and I want to talk about the culture which we build as an organization. I guess that's the common thread which binds us across any geography, any country, any region. And I was hearing Mike talking about similar things just before me. Uh, our culture of ideapreneurship, our culture of relationship beyond contract, our culture of empowering our frontline people who are day in day out interacting with customers. Those experiences are something which is even across the thread. It's very important as a global organization. We are very dominant in India. I mean, we have like almost 100,000 people in India. So practices are, you tend to get driven by your practices. But the point we are trying to kind of, for last several years, we've been trying to establish is that it's a global organization. We have to adapt cultures of other countries as well. And when you hire onboard people on those cultures and you talk about your culture, you will see that there is a complete similarity, whether you travel to UK, you travel to Poland, you travel to even the LATAM countries where language is a big constraint, right? But I think the common thread which binds all of us is our belief in our value system, our belief in our culture of ideapreneurship, our belief in empowering our people to do the best for the organization. So I guess those are the common themes I have seen personally across any parts of the organization. Coming to HR as an organization, it's very important for us to bind all this together, and therefore as HRs, across the world, our policies, for example, while it is definitely carved out as per the local country laws, but some of the common threads are it kind of runs across. Our benefit policies, for example, our benefit proposition for every country would talk about some key constructs on it, and it is across the board. Our practices on diversity inclusion, our practices on recognition, they are global in nature. I mean, we will not differentiate saying that it's in India or it's in Sri Lanka or it's in Poland, or for that matter it's in Brazil. So while we kind of customize it based on the local country laws and nuances, important is that whole value thread as well as our programs which run globally. So I guess I think that you will see across the world, whether you are in Sri Lanka and whether you are for that matter Brazil, as I kept on telling, extreme ends for us.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be exciting to, work in different geographies as well and get that experience and get the similar the benefits that you would get if you're in your home country or, if you're in an on-site country as well. And I think HCL has built that culture for everyone equally, which is amazing. So you spoke about ideapreneurship. So we hear that word a lot when we are at HCL. What does it mean and how relevant is it and the concept in today's world?
So, I mean, in a very, in a layman term, I would want to put it across, and then we can go to a little more the programs which we run around the whole thing. I mean, as I said, we've been a startup in our early 70s, right? And the way we work today is our culture. The core to our culture is ideating, is innovation, right? I mean, we are in IT services, we have a product services, we have consulting as a business line, and all this has evolved in last 10 years, if I have to say that. And we've seen this growing from pure hardcore IT service company to a company which is now delivering products through our product business, delivering consulting through cloud and various and digital technologies. The point, if you will look at the core of it, the people have come from, they were delivering IT services at one point of time. Today, they're delivering different aspects of the business. So the core to this is innovation. The core to this is, bringing ideas on table. So the culture is that we encourage people to ideate. We encourage people when they work with customers to ideate on the solutions they can bring up to the customers. And in fact, the whole culture is around bringing those ideas and innovation in actual implementation. So we run programs like Value Portal, right? On an average, annually, we get almost we establish ideas worth $5 to $7 billion in terms of interacting with our customers. Some of them might get implemented, some of them might not, but the whole platform which kind of enables people to kind of continuously think, innovate, and bring those practices is what in true sense is ideapreneurship. Now, how do we build that culture across, as I was saying? And the very basic principle of our ideapreneurship is empowering people, as I was saying, right? Invert the pyramid. It's like, it's not top to down. It's basically people who are facing customers. They deal with customers every day. They know the problem they're facing. They might come up with solutions. They will discuss with the clients, and bring up those values in it. Similarly, for example, some of those ideas gets converted to patents, right? So we run an IP platform, and we have more than 500 plus patents today, which are registered with by HCL employees, and those patents are the patents of employees. So we kind of encourage that culture that you can go ahead and do a patent as well. We run a very unique program called Mad Jam, right, which is basically the ideas which are shortlisted from all across the world. They come and present to a group of leadership, which are very relevant leadership. For example, if we are presenting something around cybersecurity practices and policies, so a cybersecurity head along with the entire leadership will judge that idea. And the winners obviously get a lot of recognition on a platform, and so those are some of, and then we have Ideapreneurship Gala Awards, basically the best idea which gets rewarded across the organization. Is not specific to region, it is global ideas we're talking about. So very interesting, engaging ways of people, and obviously with kind of our youngsters like tech bees and engineering graduates coming in, it's like a really passionate aspect, because they get to learn, they get to exhibit those things which they are learning and convert that idea into a reality which will become a potential revenue for us as an organization. So that's overall an ideapreneur culture, to talk about. And what it does is it kind of engages us. So it has both the ways. It engages our employees because they are working on that. It also engages with our client because it's a relationship which we are building beyond our contract, right? I mean, and you will see this coming all across relationship beyond contract. One of this it enables is to create that relationship with our customers and clients. So I mean, in short, this is what is ideapreneurship, and I will definitely encourage when people join us to go through our website, understand the programs, and participate very, very enthusiastically, because those are the people who are really recognized across the organization. And it's just great to have part of that.
Yeah, I think for any person who's looking to join HCL, they see this word on our website, of course, but to understand it, I think you gave an amazing explanation, and I think even for me, now I understand it better. So, and also giving the opportunity for our employees a global recognition, and also the recognition from our clients, that is also an amazing opportunity. So last year, HCL was named in Forbes list as one of the top 30 employers globally. This was a fantastic recognition, Amrita. What kind of HR practices and innovations do HCL bring to the table which led to this recognition?
So a lot of, Dusha, I would say, I mean, a lot of hard work has gone for sure. And this recognition was fabulous, because the very unique part of this recognition was that it is not an employer's voice; it was an employee voice. Forbes reached out unanimously to a number of our employees, asking about the key practices, asking about the various people practices, and it was people's voice which was ranked and rated to come back to this conclusion of Forbes 30 list. Apart from what submission as an organization does, right? But the good part was that when your employees tell you about this, you feel great about it, because they are the ones who are actually experiencing that. So that was very unique about Forbes. Now, coming to what stands us out, I think I will start from basics, and this is not something which is new, and I'm sure everybody talks about it, but the devil is in the detail, right? How do you implement those practices is something very, very important. So I guess the very first part of is a performance-led culture, right? We talk about this very, very openly in all our people practices, but it's driven by performance. It's driven by how you perform in your roles, right? It's driven by I mean, and all our programs run around that ambit as well. So one is a high performance culture, and which kind of drives people to do better and better every day. So if you look at our performance management systems, we have quarterly check-ins where people come and can talk to their managers every quarter, look at their goals, how they're doing, and they're transparent about it in terms of, it's not a year-end surprise to an employee saying that, oh, I didn't know what you're doing 3 quarters, and fourth quarter you are right. So I guess one is that if you look at our entire learning and development work which we do in the and we are a firm believer, and since there are a lot of aspirants who will join us, I think one of the key thing for us is the solution mindset. One of the key thing is willingness to learn, right? So learnability quotient has to be really high with us as an organization, and therefore our learning programs, whether it is technology skills related, whether it is behavioral, whether it is leadership development, the entire framework of that program also stands out to kind of give a very a journey to an employee in terms of from where he joins and where he aspires to reach in the organization. And you will see that in our Tech B programs. You will see that in our engineering programs, and also people who laterally join us in various academies which we run on skills and the behavioral trainings. Third was the entire work around our diversity and inclusion practices. I mean, we have really focused to see that how can we bring a lot of diverse workforce people, and it is in the benefit of the employer. It is a benefit of HCL to have a people from diverse background, because then you have right balance of strengths which you are cashing on, right? And when we talk about diversity, it's just not women diversity. I mean, for sure, gender diversity is important, and while we drive this to the core in terms of our hiring practices, in terms of our promotability practices, it's also important to look at people from ethnic background, to look at people from respective countries, look at people from various inclusive side. I mean, we've done work extensively around LGBTQ community, whether it is US, in India. Our benefit programs are run across for some of those communities very, very differently. So I think our whole culture around diversity and inclusion also helped us get to this level. And last and not the least would be around the entire social responsibility aspect which we bring as an organization in both the terms. So one is the amount of care HCL does in terms to its employees. So, when we say HCL, I mean, it's a caring organization in true sense. If you do we did recently a great places to work in India, and one of the key feedback which has been given to us has been that from a care point of view, it's a great company to be in, the caring company. So one aspect is care, and we saw this in pandemic very, very vividly, that how you as an employer you play a role. But the other side of it is how socially responsible you are on an organization, whether your environment, your economy, your environment across the world, or whether it is your society, what you give back to the society in terms of it. So I think the practices around the entire sustainability, social governance also brings a lot more value to our HR practices. I think these were some of the few key things, but obviously, as I said, there's a lot of detailing around all these pillars when you little deep dive and see how things are. So those were a couple of key points.
Okay, I mean, that's, I think, a lot of learning as well, even for Sri Lanka, and I think we have a lot of things to grasp and take it forward and bring it into Sri Lanka as well, and I hope I will be part of it as well. Thank you, Amrita. So in terms of if I step back and if I ask a question in terms of a candidate or a person who's applying into HCL, what does HCL look in potential employees?
So as I said, I mean, skills are definitely important, and everybody looks at that skill. So if you have that skill, for sure, you have an upper hand. I think apart from skill, we as an HCL, as I said, we are very close to our culture, and we would want to see some of those values in those individuals when we are hiring them, right? Um, so the way we look at as anybody and I'll give an example when I'm hiring somebody from my team, and that's pretty much I would see a lot of our managers and delivery heads doing it. One is, you've seen, you go, okay, he's good for the job, he's good for the skill, but what is the value he brings we're a close-knit organization end of the day. Even if we are 175,000 people, lot of us work into a relationship kind of a framework. It's like, we know that if things are not getting resolved, we'll pick up the phone and speak to the individual and we will resolve the issue, right? So while processes are strong, it is important to value the culture which you have built from so many years. And that's the value of being close together, work in a relationship framework. So basically, what we want to look at an individual is willingness to learn, as I said, right? Willingness to kind of explore different aspects. As I said, a lot of us have learned within HCL. So we've been told that, okay, this is the work, let's go ahead and do this. And we found our ways to go and do that work and excel that work over last few years. So I think that is a wonderful opportunity for everybody who joins us within the organization, because you can always look forward to something new happening, and that you will be able to accomplish and learn only when you have a willingness to learn, you have a willingness to experiment, right? And when I say experiment, probably have passion to perform and deliver. In fact, in one of the last interviews of CVK, if you've read the Business Standard interview which he gave, he said, apart from what you're delivering, if you have willingness to deliver and kind of an enthusiasm or passion to deliver that work, half the problem is done. So I guess those are key things which we look at as an individual. There's no rocket science, but I guess the whole enthusiasm bit in terms of passion to learn, willingness to learn, values in terms of working in a close-knit environment, right? Values in relationship, what you maintain in your life. Those are few things additionally from your skill which we look at as a teams. And don't shy away, don't be afraid to put an idea in front. And it's very important in our culture. I mean, if you just sit back and don't think, I mean, that's not what we want to propagate as a culture. We want to talk about, we want to give that opportunity to our people to come up and give ideas. As I said, ideapreneurship is another core, right? So these are the simple mantras, I would say, that we look forward to, and which makes all of us successful in this organization.
Yeah, definitely. I think learning and being adaptable, and also I think being enthusiastic to work in a global work culture would definitely give you that opportunity and the potential for you to grow in HCL. That's what I've seen so far in my past year.
That's good.
And what kind of career growth path is available for employees, Amrita, if a person joins HCL?
Yeah. So again, it's in. I mean, there are various lines. So when you we internally we have an entire career framework, Nirusha, which we offer to our employees, and we have we call this as a CDEX platform, which typically has roles for every kind of job which we run in the organization. So basically, if you're running an engineering R&D kind of a job, there are job descriptions, there are roles available for that. You are running an apps and digital kind of a job, then you have jobs around it. So the entire CDEX gives you, as soon as somebody joins, has access to this data. All the roles, all the job families are available as a framework to the individual. Now, when he joins, obviously he joins for a particular role. He joins for a particular skill which he's been experienced at. But what it does is this whole platform gives you a view that what are the roles available in the organization and what can I aspire for. We have a wonderful tool called Career Edge, which kind of integrates the entire aspect internally. For example, when you put your details of skills and resumes in our systems, and internally there is a job role, Career Edge will fetch some of these detailing to throw up the resumes to the recruiting manager, saying that internally we have so many people with these skills available who can be used for these roles as well. So, if I look at from a technology background perspective, I think enormous options available. Depend on how you want to see your career from that perspective. If you want to grow in the same space, obviously you can grow vertically, which is basically look at roles and responsibilities beyond. So you join us as a developer, move on to become a senior developer, and so on and so forth, right? A team leader, and then you can also look at parallelly looking at opportunities horizontally. So you have, as I said, your various other domains where you can go ahead and show your interest. Either you are experienced or you have some skills, and if those are possible to be trained, those can also be looked at. The good thing is there is a lot of opportunities internally. We call it generally the internal job postings, right? And employees can access that internal job postings internally and see the entire gradient of the job which is required to be done. If he thinks he's eligible for that, he can basically upgrade himself for that particular job and apply for that job. So from a career perspective, the options are unlimited. Depends how much you want to kind of take it further. You're on mute.
Sorry. So I'm so sorry. Talking about Career Edge and me posting my CV or my resume for any opportunity, would this give an opportunity for me to go on site as well?
That's right. We have those opportunities obviously are available. As I said, it's a global. As a culture also, Nilusha, I want to bring it out that we believe a lot more on people who are within us as an organization, and the first priorities are definitely those people who are within the company, because they also know the culture. They worked with a set of people. They know our entire ecosystem. So the IGPs are globally. There are jobs which are posted for even on-site opportunities, and those can be applied for. Obviously, there are laws of land around travel, and who can travel, what kind of work deployment, things like that. But once you're shortlisted, those things are taken care of at the back end. But absolutely, there are opportunities for you to go on site and look at some of those opportunities.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are looking forward for that as well, because it's an opportunity to go on site, go to another country within the company and learn from the company itself. So talking about going overseas, and I think currently we are in a situation where a lot of people or many countries are unable to travel due to the current pandemic situation. So how do we bring in human connect in the virtual work scenario? And do we have some examples of what works best in other parts of the world? How do we bring in because all of us are working from home. How do we bring in that aspect?
Yeah, it has been a very it's a entire way of looking at working. The entire thing has changed in 2020 and 21. Personally, in my 13 years of career, I've never worked from home. It was always good to, or I would say it was always more comfortable to just sit across the table and discuss a problem, go meet face to face and talk to people. I think while we miss those things, what it has done to us is a very different discussion. But as an organization, as an employer, we are cognizant that nothing is more important than our people's health, right? So we kind of started working from home from last year, I think mid 2020, and it still continues on and off. We have worked extensively during COVID. Hats off to HR teams and IT and admin, GPW who's on the ground. we made sure that the simple of the basics are available to our people, whether it was a laptop, whether it was the infrastructure aspect of starting to work from home. Because as I said, we're not used to working from home. People do not have that kind of space. People do not have that kind of infrastructure. So it was very important to get started with that, starting from our desktops to be shipped at home and set up at home, like the basic stuff from that perspective. Now, when the period started, initially it was all people were getting a little more happy about being at home and have some time off and work on and off, but it definitely leaves that human touch which we have as friends. Meet up on coffee, meet up on tea, talk to people. That was not happening. We have done enormous amount of work around the engaging with our workforce, right? Whether it is as simple as pushing everybody to do a yoga or a Pilate or a Zumba session, having virtual contests around and connecting people on sharing a platform where people can perform, sharing a platform where their kids can come in and do something. It has been all virtual for last 1 year, and an amazing work by by the HR team, which delivers this globally without fail. So it's not that it is just India. Whether it is any part of our country, that particular team kind of engages and connects with the entire employee group through these virtual programs. Now, yeah, I mean, people can say, I don't want to join, I join, but we've seen the part, and the truth is that we've seen the participation really increasing. People see this as an outlet to just leave their work beside and just be part of those engaging. It's as if you're sitting in an office and trying to do some engagement program. So whether it is Diwali context, it is in Independence Day, or it is a particular Christmas festival, all those were done virtually and engaged. Even from a leadership connect perspective, we made sure that they talk to their people virtually and tell them about how organization is doing, how their business unit is doing for last 3 or 4 quarters. So there was regular, we call it AHMs, which is basically the all hands meet. Regularly, it was connected by the business heads where there was a time given, people would log in, they will understand what they're doing, right? We kind of engaged in that kind of a setup. Also, we did a lot of virtual coffee breaks and coffee chats with the leaders. Like CVK ran few sessions in US, respective L1 heads ran their sessions in some of the countries as well, where a group of people were brought to kind of chat with the L1 leaders as well. So from an engagement perspective, I think now it doesn't feel that we work virtually. It feels that this is the life. This is the way we've been all our life, right? And we definitely encourage people to be on video, talk to the teams on video, right? Rather than just switching off. We're switching off the video and talking like a con call. It's like, pretty much I and you are talking is what the feel is. So those are some of the things on the engagement side. So we've really worked towards. The other piece has been around, as I said, caring, in terms of how we have made sure that our people and their families are safe in these bad times, right? So whether for right now we are driving this entire vaccination across the world, any part of the world we are driving this in terms of, if it is state run, obviously, if it is not state run, organization is running those drives to get people vaccinated and their dependents vaccinated so that they can come back to, if they want to come back to work, they are safer aspect. And we had seen very bad times in our second wave of COVID, especially in India. I think we went extra mile to look at a lot of policies where we can help the families. We lost. Unfortunate, but we lost few people in the process. But we made sure we take care of their family, whether we are giving education to their kids, we are giving financial support to them in terms of their families living the life they were living earlier, or in terms of even giving job opportunities to their spouses or their kids as one of the. And apart from that, whether it was hospitals, whether it was oxygen cylinders, concentrators, we kind of ran helter-skelter to run this as a. And I would say we stood out on that because we have been appreciated across by industry, by NASCOM, by our clients and customers, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing which we have got, saying that how we took care of people, made sure there is a business continuity, as well as we're taking care of the people in terms of people were stuck in US, their visas were getting over. We had to kind of arrange travel bags for them through chart flights and things like that. So a lot of things have happened in the backdrop so that we could get our people back to safe locations and see how they do. So I think it has been a great learning personally for me. I mean, we've never seen such a pandemic in our lifetime. I'm sure you guys have never seen it. So it was eye-opening for us that, how as such large organization we will have to operate to bring some kind of respite to our people who were suffering in various parts of the world. But it has been an enduring experience for all of us.
Yeah, I think what I gather from all of this is that we, during this conversation, we open up a space, or we open up a side to where we don't see what organizations do to their employees, and especially at a time like this where the organization has to take responsibility to take care of their employees who kind of help them bring in a revenue as well. And I think HCL has done an amazing job, and I've seen and I've been part of most of it as well, and we see the news, and it's unfortunate that we are going through this situation, but then but we have to learn from it and then move on. And I think so. My next question is: so you have had almost 13 plus years of experience at HCL, and what do you think has changed and has changed for the good?
So I think a lot of things have changed. Let me not say that things have not changed. And starting from business, I would say today we are from an IT services pure player. We have become a product company. We have become a consulting company. So it has changed for good, right? I mean, it's always changed for good. From an HR, from a people practices, I think our whole, I would say, our patience to kind of adopt newer ways of working, our patience to look at people from different backgrounds and getting them integrated in our workforce. I think those has been challenging, but I think those have changed for good. Today, we talk about when we talk about global, we talk about our practices to be global. If I'm in Australia, I will talk about practices which are Australia, because I'm trying to attract talent from Australian market. If I'm in Sri Lanka, I will try to make my practices as much as market relevant as per Sri Lanka. So we are no more, I think the whole belief in terms of how we become global, that journey, I think has been really, really good. We've become more flexible. I would say, whether it is flexibility to work, whether it is flexibility of thoughts, I think some of those things have really changed. Our opportunities, the way people have now opportunities within organization has changed tremendously. As I was saying earlier, I'm not limited to just work. I can upskill myself. I can learn new technologies, and I can move on to do cloud. I can move on to do things in the digital world. I can move on to do things in the engineering R&D space. I can move on to do things in apps modernization. So things have really changed from those perspective. If I talk about from an opportunity HR practice, if I'm managing a India-based role, I can travel, I can start managing, because internally we have that opportunity for us. Even if I'm not from that geography, I get this opportunity to work as an HR for America, HR for European countries, right? So I guess some of those things are changed for very good. I mean, people have a lot of flexibility, people have a lot of opportunity inside, potential opportunities to grow. We have the best practices in terms of whether it is performance, whether it is recognition, whether it is reward practices, right? They have a voice of their own in the organization. Some of those things are very, very important for a large organization like us. I mean, I don't want to say that we are we don't believe that we are very process driven and everything works like 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I mean, we have that human touch still left, and we want to keep that human touch in our process, because that's what HCL is known for. HCL is not known for being just like a machine. Even if we are 200,000 people tomorrow, I think that's the essence of us as an organization, and that holds all of us together in this setup.
Yeah, and also I think with the current situation, it has brought in a more flexibility for us to work very differently. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's across the
so
borders. There's no problem.
exactly. And no matter where you are, I could be in Sri Lanka and I could be working for another country, and it wouldn't it would be the same, because that's what the situation is now. So which is, I think it has helped in a way as well, this
Yeah.
situation. So organizations globally are kind of taking about or talking about bringing back people to work. What is HCL's take on this, and more so in the context of HCL Sri Lanka?
Yeah, so I think, Nilusha, I mean, all of us are just hoping that pandemic gets over, and we really want to go back. I mean, if you ask me today, and I'm sure if you take a poll from a lot of people who are listening to this or who are part of Excel Sri Lanka team, all of us want to go back and have those days of, as I was saying, having coffee and tea and together, going out for lunch breaks, brainstorming on a particular solution, sitting in a meeting room, enjoying those whiteboards. I think those definitely are something which we all are missing on. But primary for us is the health of our and the safety of our employees. So while we are definitely looking at a return to work kind of a framework, I would say guidelines by which we can help our people to start thinking about it. The first thing which we are looking at is vaccination. As I said, the first thing across the world is, today we are at almost 80% of vaccination in India. We are wanting to do 100% of vaccination in India for our employees. And we might be a little lesser on the dependent side, their families, because end of the day, if the families are not vaccinated, they themselves, employees are not safe, they will not have a peace of mind. So I guess our drive is to get everybody vaccinated across the board. First of all is that. Second is we are nudging people. There is nothing that I mean, now we have established that we can work virtually, we can work from home. So it's not that we are asking or forcing people to come and start working or start doing adverse things of looking at some landscape. Say for example, you must have read about Google or Facebook trying to do a pay cut in terms of if people are not able to work from office, so and so forth. So those are not forced measures we are looking at right now. It's just nudging right now to our employees, saying our work locations are safe, our offices are safe. We have maintained all the protocols of COVID-19 which we do. Our cafeterias are safe. I mean, all those aspects. You probably come and do an office tour and see how safe the place is, and when I walk in today I started going like twice or thrice in the week. I mean, I feel it is so productive, also because it's a lot of monotonous right now at home. It's productive at office, and the office is pick and span. There is a regular interval in which disinfectants happen, fumigations are happening. So it's pretty much safe, and people can just go and experience that. So our idea is that I mean, you're nudging them to come back because you want to make them feel comfortable, their families to be comfortable, right? Festival season at least is around the corner for a lot of the countries. We are wanting them to come and experience that in the campus and make those campuses vibrant again. But we are cognizant that if God forbid, if wave 3 is there or something like that happens, company will come back to the normal way of working the way we are. So there's no very strict guidelines we are putting in place right now. We're just trying to nudge people with a priority of vaccination right now. And we know that work doesn't suffer at this point of time, even if we don't have to.
Yeah, definitely. I think safety is key, number one priority for everyone right now. So we've got two questions coming in, Amrita, from the audience. One is, I think we touched upon this before as well. What kind of work culture does HCL has? And how do I fit into it?
Yeah. So I spoke about work culture earlier as well in my conversation. I think the work culture for us is very, very simple. In two words, if I have to say, as I said, innovation, ideas, entrepreneurship, your willingness to learn new things and your passion to deliver is definitely key for us, right? as an organization. And second is our entire value centricity in terms of, be a part of the organization where you feel that you're contributing. It's important to feel that you're contributing to the organization rather being one SAP code in the organization, right? I mean, there's just an employee ID. No, that's not the culture we are into. Our culture is to nurture people, nurture their skills, make them do good work, and if they have willingness to learn, they will pick up. We established this over years in our journey in HCL, and all of us who have been kind of, I say born and brought up in HCL, right? So we've seen this happening in our eyes. I mean, we've never thought that we will venture out to a product business where people practices are very different, where hiring is different, where performance management is different, where compensation frameworks are very different. But when I started doing it, I knew that I can do it because I had a willingness to learn for it and then experiment that and then go ahead and have that acceptability. So I think important from a culture perspective is basically, as I said, ideapreneurship in terms of innovation, at least have that solution mindset. That's very, very important, right? Trust and transparency within the organization. I mean, we definitely believe that whatever we do, we tell our people, right? And you should have a belief in the organization that organization is doing it is. That's why I said Forbes was very different, because it came from people, right, that they felt the difference in their experience, right? So I think trust and transparency becomes another key aspect of our culture, right? And the value centricity towards whether it is a diverse workforce, whether it is inclusive culture, whether it is our socially responsible towards society, an environment. All of these are the cultures what we drive as an organization for every HLite who gets onboarded with us.
Okay.
What makes you fit? I think don't stress out. I mean, you will learn the ropes till the time you have a right attitude. My belief is that you have a right attitude, you have passion to deliver what you're delivering, and you have a willingness to learn new things, you will be successful in HCL. So, I mean, it's nothing, no rocket science. Don't sweat on to do something very different. It's not required. That's not our culture. I know we know inherently people will pick that up because they start quite early with us. It becomes their culture as well. Today, look at some 40,000 people who have been with us for like, because they've straight come from college and they are now working with us. It has become a culture. This is our way of life. In our normal life also, we think we bring those values here in our normal life as well. So I guess those are the things. Just those three keywords are for us as any HLite who will be successful within the company.
I think end of the day, HCL becomes family as well. So
absolutely, we are a bigger family. Yeah.
Yes. So the second question I've got is, I'm a fresher. I am considering to join HCL. Can I rise to become a country head? Interesting question.
No, I mean, interesting question, and I mean, very good. I mean, this is emotion we want in every HLite. I mean, I'll tell you, CVK is a live example. Our current CEO MD is a live example. He joined us as an engineer and he's a CEO of the company, right? So, I mean, we have complete belief that people who join us, who work with us, they definitely rise above the ranks. So all the chances you can become a country head, you can become a business head, you can become a CEO tomorrow, depending upon how you take up responsibilities and challenges across the ladders. But we have enough examples. I mean, Vineet Nair, who a lot of you not know, he was our CEO. I mean, a lot of inspiration for all of us. He was somebody who joined us as a management graduate and moved on to become a CEO. A lot of our business heads who have moved from schools directly from colleges, engineering colleges, they are head of businesses today, right? So I guess absolutely no dearth of opportunities. And if you're confident on the skills, we are confident that you'll become a country manager one day. So don't worry about that.
Thank you, Amrita. So one more question. I think we are kind of touching upon whatever we spoke earlier as well. What kind of skilling and upskilling opportunities are available when we join HCL?
So a lot of, I mean, I can't really. So there are, as I said, there are two domains of. One is your domain skills as well, and we run very good programs on skilling, because as I say, we are firm believer that we train our own people on the upcoming technologies, and they work on those new technologies as well, and that's the way, as I said, everybody has to look up to new opportunities in their career, and if you don't provide them internally, they will go outside, right? So skilling becomes very, very important from us as an organization. We run, for example, academies. We have academies all in all our business lines, and those are very skill specific. So there will be academies who will teach various. So, for example, we run our entire VLSI academy. We run an academy around cyber security and security practices. I'm just an example. Every line of business has skill academies which you can enroll for. We have opportunities to. So once you're a part of the academy and you come out and you have delivered those skills, you've got certification, you're deployed on those projects which are using those skills, as well as related remuneration changes and structural changes will happen in terms of your terms of employment. But it's important to just keep thinking what's important for you to keep learning, right? I mean, is it this skill you want, and then you should just. So all our freshers, for example, and I'm sure you guys would have done those sessions, whether it is tech bees or our engineers, right? They go through a very detailed structure of technical programs, trainings, and once they start working with us in the projects all as well, they still have opportunities to upgrade themselves to different skills, right? So one is academies, the other is we run across the businesses also academies and trainings, which are and then third is basically if you want to do something on your own and it is relevant to the job which you are doing, we also encourage you to do this outside if you want to do it outside as a policy. So that also avenue is available for people. But I don't think people generally need to go out. There is so much of things happening internally within the line of business, and you will have ample opportunity to upskill yourself on those.
Okay, thank you. So I think I'm on my last question for you, Amrita. It's not a difficult one, but then what is your message or your key takeaway to all our live audience? I think we have over 2,000 live audience right now who are with us right now, who are seeking guidance to join HCL Sri Lanka. What would be your message?
Yeah. So I think HCL Sri Lanka, I would say it's just be wonderful. I mean, I want to be personally there and just experience how there's immense potential in our business plan perspective, and I'm sure Totha or Srimati would have spoken about it earlier. We have huge plans for Sri Lanka. It's a growing location for us. A lot of you will see the way we have grown India. You will see similar multiple folds growth we are planning for Sri Lanka. So it's an excellent opportunity if you are exploring to join us in the HCL Sri Lanka more from a growth perspective. It's always good to join a growing organization, and if you just look back and see how HCL's growth journey has been for last 10 years, I mean, it's been just phenomenal. We are right now across the globe, we are at number 3, and in terms of whether it is revenue growth or whether in terms of our profit margin. So it's a growing organization. We are striving for that culture. We have almost 12% growth projected for this year. So I would definitely encourage you to look at that aspect for any opportunity which you are looking at, because working in a growing company always gives you ample opportunities, rather than working for a little more stable, organization which is reached its peak, because those challenges are not there. Yeah. Why HCL? I would say, I spoke about it in length. I think we stand for a culture, very uniquely culture, which we talk about. And you look at IT services across the world, while all of us people are there, we live by that example, I would say. Whether you pick up any one of us who've been with this company for some time, we've seen our growth in this. So I am very, very, I know that this can happen, and therefore I am confident that if you join and you do well in your respective areas, you have the potential to grow country manager and various other roles which you're talking about in your career. So it gives you ample opportunity to grow, ample opportunity to learn within the organization, ample opportunity to explore other geographies if required, right? Rather than joining a regional company or a company which is just based out of Sri Lanka, because that global exposure is something additionally gets added on with an HCL, right? And we talk about skilling programs. I think you talk about those as an individual, as a fresher, as an aspirant. I would look at my career opportunities, what I have, what is the culture I have, right, and what global exposure I have. I think we tick all three boxes so well. And you must explore that as an opportunity, because that will bring a different paradigm of you as an individual. I've seen that personally happening in my career, so I can vouch for that for all of you.
Definitely. I won't doubt that, Amrita. And actually, thank you very much. I can continue to have this conversation at lengthy because it's so interesting, and it's nice to know things that about HCL and globally what we practice as HR as well. But I think we are end of our time, and I would like to thank you very much for your time and being here with us. So if you or any person who's willing to learn, who's able to explore and perform very well, I think that's the key takeaway. And also HCL end of the day has or it becomes family and based on our HCL culture. So thank you very much, Amrita, for today.
Thank you.
And Harsha, over to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nilusha. And Amrita, thank you so much for bringing those subjects up. You highlighted the importance of having the values and passion for the Excel careers as well. And don't shy away, open up, speak up. And our entrepreneurship in HCL, it's all about that. You get them to talk, share their ideas, and we develop from that point. And most importantly, you mentioned about the employee engagement, how flat we really are in terms of approaching certain parties. How are we supporting our company? How are we supporting our employees? And most importantly, the growing plans in Sri Lanka. Yes, we are growing, and we want people to who are inquiring about this. All those 2,000 plus people are there. Check with us and see exactly how we can move forward with you. Okay, it's the quiz time again. Let's see what we have next. Team? Which month of the year 2020 HCL Technologies office in Colombo was inaugurated? You know the drill. Select the correct answer, send it to us as fast as you can, and receive a good gift voucher from HCL. Okay, we can start the timer. Okay, the timer is ticking. Pick it up, answer the question quickly, and if you're the first one to go ahead with, you will receive a pack from us. Okay, what we're gonna do with this question still on the screen right now, we're also gonna work on move you into a nice video. So let's post the video now.
HCL decided to come to this country is that we do believe that we have excellent talent here. Not only experienced IT professionals, but also youngsters who are raring to become IT professionals.
HCL gives me an opportunities to innovate, freedom to explore with a diversified work culture. HCL gives me a robust career growth with well-defined personal and professional work-life balance.
A QA professional with 12 years of experience. I believe that being a QA engineer is not just about testing whatever the features or product that they are working on, but a person who can advocate for the product that they are testing. By joining HCL, I gain experience in working with cross-functional, multicultural teams who shares ideas and values on day-to-day basis.
Pandemic time, when millions of people around the world have lost their jobs, HCL has provided hundreds of job opportunities for people all over Sri Lanka. HCL and numerous opportunities the company provides will upgrade not only your career, but also your character as a person.
I joined HCL as a fresher with no background in IT infrastructure. I was given a comprehensive series of training, which gave me an insight on what I'm expected to do. Something I love about culture here at HCL is the warm and friendly nature of my colleagues and the mentors I work with.
The experience that I've gained is a lot. I'm having a great time with the team. The team is very welcoming and so supportive of me.
HCL has turned out to be a great decision for me in my life. I would like you to join us. We have wonderful training programs that will guide you through your career process, as well as mentoring program, which will show you how to perform the job while working.
Is actually working for us. Some of HLites working in our company, appearing in the video, sharing their thoughts and how they really feel about it. So I'm sure most of you can even be in our next video as well. So get in touch with us and we can just connect you. So it's time to bring our next speaker. This next speaker is a special person and most of you already know him, Dhananjay Hettiarachchi. Dhananjay is a leading expert in leadership communication and peak performance. He worked with leaders and professionals as an executive coach to convert their vision into powerful message and influence strategies that deliver results. In 2014, he won the Toastmasters International World Championship of Public Speaking, surpassing over 30,000 contestants worldwide. His winning speech titled, "I See Something," was rated as one of the most talked about speeches by Fortune magazine. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dhananjay Hettiarachchi. Hey, Dhananjay.
Hey, Harsha. Thank you very much, man. Love the introduction. Great to be a part of the program. Glad to see so many people joining in. It's a fantastic opportunity, and you guys have done such a tremendous job. Just reading some of the articles about hiring up to 600 people in the middle of a pandemic. It's a testament to the type of infrastructure and scale that HCL brings to the table. And my talk today to everybody who's listening in is really about how do we grab opportunities like this and escalate your performance to your next level of orbit, right? How do you become the next best version of yourself that can really not only survive, right, but thrive in a kind of post-pandemic world? And what got us here is definitely not going to get us to the next 20 to 30 years. The type of opportunities and the type of problems that all of you who are joining in will have to solve in order to make progress, not only in your career, but also contribute to society, have changed. And so the type of person and the type of outlook that you need to have when going about solving these problems and grabbing these opportunities also has to change. I have about 20 years of experience in leadership coaching. I started my career in the IT industry. I still consult to the IT industry in Sri Lanka, so I know the ins and outs of the software industry, both product and services, and I know some of the questions, the tribulations, the trials, the aspirations that most of you guys who are joining on this video and on this call have. So let me kind of frame my central problem, right? I think if you look at today, 2021, right, this decade, or maybe even the last 5 years, at no time in our history of civilization have we had so many educated people in the world. Education has never been this decentralized, right? We've never had this many PhDs, doctors, MBAs, university graduates at any time in the history of the world. If you look at the technology and innovation diffusion, if you look at logistics, supply chain across the world, we actually today live in a world of abundance, which 50 years ago, 60 years ago would have been almost impossible to imagine, right? The amount of wealth distribution, access to healthcare, access to banking infrastructure, finance, all of these things have exponentially grown. So we've had no time in the history of human civilization has so much been in the hands of the masses. But even with this technology, right, even with this growth, even with this opportunities, we still fundamentally face some critical challenges. Every day, 25,000 people still die of hunger, and we are still unable to get vaccines, to where, some of the countries that are really suffering in a timely manner, right? So you ask this question, we have this much of wealth, we have this much of technology, we have an abundance of talent, right? But we're still unable to really solve some of the fundamental questions and problems that the masses have, that should have been ideally solved with the type of wealth and abundance that we have. And the only kind of link that we need to focus on in order to bridge this gap is you, right? Is us, is all of us on this call. So it's not really about the technology. It's not really about the opportunity. It's not really about the money. It's how you and I really use these resources and elevate our thinking to not only take our performance to the next level of orbit, but also take the results that we produce as individuals, as organizations, as countries to the next level. So I want to talk to you about 5 core principles today that's going to try to get you to think about performance in a different way, right? And when we talk about performance, we really have a consumerist mindset. And what I mean by consumerist mindset is that we want something new, right? What is the 5-step formula to becoming a leader? A 3-day course to becoming, the best CEO in the world, or a 1-week program on how to make millions. And we've consumerized knowledge acquisition to such an extent, it's almost now become like a commodity. And we want something new, right? And if you look at the literature that's come out in the last 5 years, there's so much of stuff written about leadership and growth and just self-development. But when you look at the indices that measure the results of self-development, you don't find a positive correlation. Probably we are getting worse by the day, right? And growth really doesn't mean you need a magic formula. You don't need a fundamentally groundbreaking, earth-shattering secret that's going to take your performance to the next level. And sometimes, taking your performance to the next level also means revisiting some of the performance principles that maybe you and I have forgotten, right? And that could be a fundamentally new approach to looking at how you want to approach your performance. It could be you working at HCL, it could be you working at another company, but really just revisiting some of the age-old truths about performance, rediscovering them in a new context can really elevate your thinking and really take your performance to the next level. So I want to really introduce to you and then have a discussion about 5 tried and tested principles that you can use to really take and elevate your performance over to the next level. The first principle that I want to talk to all of you about is this me-centric versus us-centric attitude, right? If you look at the last 10 years, especially in leadership and growth, it has almost curved into a me-centric attitude. So me-centric attitude is where you look at growth and you look at performance with you in the center of your universe, right? So it's all about you, and you. Working in the IT industry, I inherently know this. It's about what's my designation, right? What's the salary that I'm getting? How can I become a CEO in 5 years? It's always tagged to a label, it's tagged to a price tag, it's tied to what's in it for me. And that me-centric attitude is really today falling apart, right? And that me-centric attitude towards growth and performance is really creating so much of dissonance, not only in the private sector, but also in the social sphere, right? So, if you break it down to the whole pandemic situation, it's about, hey, I feel uncomfortable wearing a mask, so I'm not going to wear it. I mean, I don't care about everybody else, but my comfort is what matters. And that's the same attitude sometimes that we bring to work, and that we bring to some of the opportunities that we are supposed to get involved in. We bring this me-centric attitude, and that all has to do with some of the narratives, right? Some of the stories that we've been fed in the last 10 to 15 years. And some of those narratives and stories are, forget the rest, work on yourself, put yourself at the center of everything, get what you can from the opportunity that you have for yourself. And really, this mindset has limited progress and growth for many individuals. Amrita really talked about a very important point about the HCL culture, right? And any organizational culture. For you to really embrace an organizational culture that's really fluid and enriching, you need to come out of that me-centric attitude. You got to go from being me-centric to being us-centric, right? And that's something that not only we are missing in the world, but as Sri Lankans we are missing, right? And how do we become a part of a group of people that solves global problems, that solve global business problems? And how do I be a part of a team that can contribute for a more meaningful, purposeful outcome? And that's the shift was from me to us that needs to take place. I'll give you a little story about when I really, when this principle really struck me. I was working for the Sri Lankan government, the Ministry of Home Affairs, and I met this amazing gentleman who was the former secretary for agriculture in Sri Lanka. He was the former director for the Sri Lanka Institute of Development Administration. His name was W.M. Pandusena, fantastic gentleman, right? So I go to meet him, and I'm seated outside his office, right? It's a typical government office. I'm seated outside, and there was a brochure in that office, and I was reading it, and it says W.M. Bandusera, gives his history, and it says postgraduate studies at Harvard University. So I was so surprised that we have people who are in the government sector today who are educated at Harvards and the Yales and the MITs of the world, right? So I'm like really curious, and so I went in. I met this gentleman, he's a really fine gentleman, right, and speaks very eloquently, but I had this pressing question. He didn't have the doctor part or the professor part in front of his name, right? And if you go to Harvard or Yale or any great university, IIT in India, you would definitely want to have that doctor professor part in front of your name, just like you would want your designation to be like an architect or a software architect or tech lead. We're hell bent on designations, right? So he didn't have that. So now I'm waiting for the opportunity to ask this question. And he came, and I'm like, Mr. Bandusera, you went to Harvard, and why don't you have the doctor part in front of your name? And then he gave me this amazing reply. He said, Dhananjay, when I was studying at Harvard public policy, I got a letter from the Sri Lankan government giving me two options. And option number one, and this was back in the day when we had the civil war happening in Sri Lanka. Option number one is, quit Harvard. You got to come back to Sri Lanka. We need to post you, in a critical area in Sri Lanka, but and we got to help people that are in need. Option number two, you can quit the government and public service, and you can stay on at Harvard full scholar, right? I want you to just take an example of this. Imagine if you had that option, right? So quit a full scholar at Harvard, Yale, whatever great university you're in, come back and serve the Sri Lankan public, or quit the government service and then go and continue your studies in Harvard. Like, what's the option that you would have taken? Almost 99% of you, right, would love the idea of coming back and serving the people, but that's a romanticized version. Only one, probably 99% would really just stick on at Harvard, right? So Bandhu looked at me and said, Dhananjay, listen, I quit Harvard and I came back to Sri Lanka. I was so surprised, right? I was like, that's insane. I've never heard somebody, do something like that. And I instantly knew that he regretted it, right? And I wanted to ask him. So I mustered up all my courage and I asked him, Mr. Bandusena, do you regret it? He looked at me and said, son, I don't need a Harvard PhD to serve the people of Sri Lanka, right? one of the most profound answers that I've ever heard in my whole life. And I, for the first time in a long time, I met a man with a purpose, right? So a person that has moved from what's in it for me to what's in it for us, right? And that's the type of thinking that I think not only leaders in Sri Lanka or in Asia, but that's the type of thinking that global leaders need to today have, right? What's in it for us? And to do this, you really need to get you out of the picture and think about the whole macrocosm as a place of performance. So one of the first principles for you to really capitalize on any opportunity that comes your way, right, is not to ask what's in it for me. It's about what's in it for us. What can we achieve as a team, as a group, as an organization, as a country together? And that simple mind shift of thinking about us as a total, right, can really give you so much more opportunities, so much more abundance in growth than if it was a me-centric attitude. So principle number one, right, is really move from a me-centric attitude to an us-centric attitude, right? And that is the fundamental shift that you need to have in your type of thinking if you really want to expand your horizons. So once you really get into that us-centric attitude, the next step is you got to find the us, right? Who is the us you want to be a part of? And who is the tribe that you want to invest in for the next 10 years of your life, the next 15 years of your life? And my second principle is really related to this finding this us. There's a very famous statistical theory, right? It's called regression to the mean, right? And what regression to the mean really means is that you may be a really great performer. You may be the top of the class, right? In terms of your skill, in terms of your competency. But if the environment you're in, right, has a mean performance below what you're capable of, you definitely get dragged down to that mean performance. You may be an average performer and you go into an environment where the mean performance is higher than your individual performance. What happens is you get dragged up, right? And this is why when people who have absolutely maybe no domain knowledge or no technical skills or so-called average performers, when they join organizations and cultures that have a mean performance that is above them, right, where the demand is more, where the rigor is more, just by being in that environment, you just really kind of escalate up your own performance just by being in that environment, right? And you see this conundrum, right? And if you see a very talented person, right, join an organization that is that has a lower mean performance, the whole ability to deliver, the ability to kind of think laterally, think horizontally diminishes. If you join an organization that demands you to kind of get out of your comfort zone, get out of your safety zone, right? And just by being in that environment, you're really able to escalate. You're really able to improve that level of performance. We normally see this, right, in Asia, South Asian countries when it comes to migration. And I'm going to crack a bit of Sri Lankan jokes because I know most of the audience is Sri Lankans, right? When us Sri Lankans, when we go abroad, right, you can literally see we're working twice as faster, twice as harder, and twice as smarter, right? But if you look at the same Sri Lankan resource who's working here, right, you're putting twice as less effort, you're working twice as less smart, and you're absolutely comfortable with what you're doing. And you can see this dichotomy. It's the same person, right? And really the only thing that has changed is that environment. So when you're really looking at a career, when you're looking at kind of what my next career break is, the right question is, hey, can I join an organization that I'm comfortable with? It's the wrong question, right? Can I join a place that I can be the shark in the pond? That's the wrong question. The right question is, hey, can I get into an environment? Can I find a group of us that will demand more of me, that will really pressure me, and that will pressure in a good way, and really give you the rigor to escalate your performance far beyond what you could normally do if it doesn't happen. And this whole concept, right, of regression to the mean is a very powerful. Like even me as a speaker, when I started my career as a speaker, I used to, speak predominantly in in Southeast Asia. But then as I expanded my horizon as a speaker, speaking to different audiences, different demanding audiences, right? You could literally see the type of effort and the type of rigor that I had to put in also changed. And that really made me a better person. So you need to really focus on coming out of that comfort zone, being able to be happy, being uncomfortable in an environment that demands more of you. And that's the type of organizations and that's the type of cultures you want to be a part of. That's the us. And that's my second principle. And so you come out of the me-centric to us-centric. Remember the principle of regression to the mean. Find a culture that demands more of you. So if you are able to find that culture, it becomes a very fertile part or very fertile component for your growth, right? Now, once you find that culture, the only way you're going to make progress, right, is by loving failure, right? And there's a very famous quote, right? Fail fast, fail often, right? And that's the only way that you're going to acquire the type of skills and the type of knowledge and the type of competencies that are needed to solve the next set of problems that the whole world is going to face, right? Because the problems are different, and the only way you're going to learn it is by incrementally failing. But failing generally has a bit of a negative connotation. So I always like to reframe failure in a different way. I like to call it a personalized learning experience, right? Your degree can teach you certain things. Organizational culture can teach you certain things. Your parents can teach you certain things. The only way that life can teach you, right, is by helping you fail. And I always say that life's way, right, of teaching you is by giving you a personalized learning experience, as in failing, right? And learning from failure is a fundamentally important aspect of taking your growth to the next level, right? Let me give you a couple of examples. I was kind of, 10 years into my career as a public speaker. I got invited to speak at the Rotary International Convention in Seoul, Korea, right? It was a huge convention. And I had like 10 years of speaking experience around the world. So it was just another speaking experience for me. So I was going on the plane with my mentor, a lovely gentleman by the name of Arunachalam Balraj. And halfway through to Seoul, Korea, I just asked him, how many people are going to be at the conference? And this was the time when, speaking happened live, right? And he said, Danja, 15,000 people, right? Like 15,000 people. That's a lot of people. So the first question in my mind was, how are we going to pack 15,000 people into one place? So I land in Seoul, Korea, and I go to this event, and it's a massive aircraft hangars, right? And it's global leaders, right, from every sphere of the world packed into one place, 15,000 people. Now, one of the things that we often hear is that practice makes you perfect, right? So I'd practiced my keynote. I was absolutely ready to cream it, and my name is announced, and I get on stage and I start speaking, and I realized that the hall is so large that it takes about half a millisecond to 1 millisecond for my voice to go from where I'm speaking to the end of the hall, right? And I suddenly realized I can't speak as fast as I'm usually able to. And I immediately had to adjust my keynote for that feedback. And that's one of the profound moments in my life, that as you grow in your career, life puts you in situations where you may think that you know everything, but the challenge itself presents a new element to you. The challenge itself presents a dimension that you haven't thought about. And that becomes a personalized learning experience. And you need to be a part of a culture that allows you to have these personalized learning experiences, right? Srimati in the video talked about courage, and how courage is one of HCL's founding values. And I totally resonate with this, because you have to have the courage to fail. How you have to have the courage to imbue personalized learning experiences. But you also have to be a part of a culture that allows you to fail, that is happy to allow you to get your personalized learning experience. And that's a bit of courage as well, right? If you look at most of the companies around the world, and I work with a lot of small, medium to large size companies, they can't afford to let their staff make mistakes, right? Every mistake has a dollar value assigned to it. Only a very certain group of companies, right, who have a culture of learning, who have a culture of mentoring, who have a culture of coaching and growth, has that courage to say, hey, you know what? try something new, right? Ideapreneurship, as HCL said. And even if it fails, it's okay. You tried. You would be surprised, right, at how many companies today have the luxury, have the pure luxury to even afford that, right? And when I started my career, I started my career in a IT enterprise company, and it was one of the best things that I have ever done, because I was surrounded by people that said, "Hey, Dana, go ahead. Even if you fail, it's okay, as long as you learn something from it and come and re-implement it." And for talent, for you to take your performance to the next level, you have to do that. You have to be able to embrace failure, try new things, and be in a culture, a group of us that has a performance standard that allows you to fail, right? And and that requires you to be a bit of a risk taker, right? And then I talk about this example of how when you and I, when we were in school, right? Most of you may remember this. We used to go on a school trip, like the school trip, right? Annual school trip. I'm sure you guys have gone on this. I'm sure Harsha, I'm sure you would have gone on it too, right? And when you go in the school bus, right? I want you to imagine you going on your school trip and you're going in the bus, right? You find three groups of people, right? The first group of people in this bus are the people who are sitting at the front, right? And these are the kids that sit in the front. When the bus stops, they don't get out of the bus. They're in the bus, right? They follow instructions to a T, right? The mom would have packed a nice lunch, right? And they're just in the front of the bus. And they don't do anything. They're just in the bus. And they're generally called passengers, right? They're passengers, right? That's it. Then you have the group in the middle of the bus. But these guys are, very organized. Okay, when the bus stops, they get down, they form a neat line. If your class teacher tells you to take a left turn, they take a left turn. Then if you take a right turn, they take a right turn. Methodical, very organized, very hip. Let's put it like that, right? And these group of people, right, they're called the tourists. So passengers at the front. In the middle of the bus are the tourists, right? Follow instructions. And then you have the group at the back of the bus. And I'm sure most of you guys who are joining in might be the group at the back of the bus. I was in the back of the bus. So the group at the back of the bus, interesting, right? So the bus stops, we go into a walk somewhere, and everybody's supposed to meet at the bus at 4:00. Couple of guys missing, right? Now, teacher is panicking, everybody's panicking. We got 5 kids that have gone missing, right? And those 5 kids that go missing are at the back of the bus, right? They've wandered off somewhere. They're on their own adventure. They've gotten lost. And literally the whole bus is now searching for those 5 people, right? And the group at the back of the bus, right? They're called the adventurers. And though they bend certain rules, they generally have the most amount of fun, right? And what we need today, as much as we need passengers, we do need tourists. What we need is a group of adventurers, right? Who are able to really think outside the frame that a society or university or your family has carved out for you, and be really ready to take on adventure. And that's the most exciting part about joining a culture that allows you to take that adventure, because you're bound to fail, right? You're bound to get, bound to have a couple of nicks. You're bound to fall down a ditch. But that experience itself is going to really enrich you as an individual. And you want to join a culture that allows you to become an adventurer, fail fast, fail often, and really grab that experience. So far, so good. So come out of the me-centric attitude to us, becoming us. Find a culture with a higher mean standard, right? That allows you to fail fast, fail often, and allows you to become an adventurer. And this adventuring, learning from failure, right? Having an us-centric attitude transforms you, right? From an I-shaped resource. I-shaped, right? An I-shaped resource is someone who has deep knowledge in one domain. So you may be, a techie in Java. You may be, a DevOps engineer. You may be a .NET guy, right? I-shaped resource into an T-shaped resource or an M-shaped resource. It's very important for you to understand this. So a T-shaped resource, right, is a person that has a deep domain knowledge, but is able to traverse across the organization. All that learning, all that adventuring, all that experimentation has allowed him to understand, hey, dude, what do the maintenance guys do, right? What does the BFSI sector do? CCT, what do they do, right? And he's able to go across the organization, but has a deep domain knowledge. And that domain can be BA, QA, PM, or any other domain that you want to be a part of. A T-shaped resource is valuable, right? But what's more valuable than a T-shaped resource is an M-shaped resource. Is someone who has domain knowledge in two deep verticals and is able to traverse the organization because of that deep domain knowledge. So you're looking at a software architect who has deep delivery knowledge, right? You're looking at a BA who has deep tech knowledge, right? And these two domain verticals allow the resource to traverse across the organization. And you would only be able to convert yourself into a T-shaped or M-shaped resource if you really part of a culture that allows you to learn through failure, experiment, give you the opportunities to really dabble in some of those other verticals and domains that you might not get in most organizations. So this really hits back into what Amrita said, right? Value. How do you become valuable? It's by becoming a T-shaped or M-shaped resource, because you're able to solve more problems, you're able to solve more challenges, and the number of challenges and problems you can solve, the more valuable you can become. Now, if you're an I-shaped resource, right, that is just, hey, no, I only do QA, right? I only do tech, I only do dev, I only do BA. Then it's a matter of utility, right? So anybody looking at you is thinking, hey, how can I just utilize this guy? But if you're a T-shaped or M-shaped resource, you really go into, hey, how can I leverage this guy? So utilize versus leverage are completely two different things. When a prospective employer looks at you, you don't want him to be thinking, hey, how am I going to utilize Dhananjay? The question is, how am I going to leverage Dhananjay? And for someone to leverage you, you got to have a deep domain knowledge and the ability to move across domains and across functions. And coming back to that point, the way you become that is by learning quickly, failing quickly, and having opportunities to dabble in it in a safe environment, a safe culture, right? So my fourth point, right, as you convert yourself from I-shaped to a T-shaped to M-shaped resource, is really understanding that part of this journey involves a huge amount of mentoring, right? Huge amount of coaching. There are some things in life that you can solve by yourself. There are some things in life that you can learn to solve by yourself. But the way to look at things, right? The way to analyze things can only come through mentoring. I call this learning by association. And if you ever looked at my World Championship speech, I see something in you. That's my fundamental premise. By associating people that think differently, that are better than you, you can really change the way you look at a problem. You can really change the way you analyze your situation and how you can contribute to a scenario. Mentors are very hard to find, right? Mentors are bosses are easy to find, managers are easy to find, mentors are very hard to find. And mentoring is not about really giving you advice to make the right decision. That's not about mentoring, right? Mentoring is about a group of people that are able to allow you to make a mistake, but really protects you from the adverse impacts of that mistake. So I always say this, mentors allow people to make mistakes, but they don't allow their destiny to change. So really, if you're operating at 30,000 feet, 15,000 feet, and you want to go into your next orbit of growth, which is maybe at 60,000 feet or 70,000 feet, you need a sponsor. You need a mentor that's going to create that opportunity for you, look out for you, push you, coach you, guide you, and help you understand what's happening to you as you go in the process. There are many times in my life where I felt in my own career stagnated. I felt kind of not utilized, not leveraged, and I realized part of that is the way I'm looking at what's happening to me. Sometimes you are not the best interpreter of what's happening to you. Sometimes you really need a mentor to help you. Hey, Dhananjay, the way you're thinking about it is wrong, right? The way you're thinking about it is very different. And here's how you need to adjust it. So another example from my life is, when I was competing at the World Championship, and I had qualified from Sri Lanka, and then I was representing India and Sri Lanka both, right? So, I'd qualified from India, and the semi-final of the World Championship of Public Speaking was in Florida, right? And I go in front of the semi-finals, and they announce my name. I come outside, and for the first time in my whole life, I see like 800 white people, right? And I'm like, I've never spoken to white people in my life. Now, immediately the first thing that came into my mind was these guys invaded my country a long time ago, right? And I'm like, what am I doing here? And I really lost that confidence. And I thought, hey, look, listen, I maybe not as good as public speaking as I should be. But that's when kind of mentors come into play and say, hey, listen, Dhananjay, it's not about your skill. It's about getting acclimatized to talking to a global and international audience, right? So, and that's when they create more opportunities for you to do so. So think about it in this way, right? Think about your leader in client services, right? So you're a client services leader, right? And the conversations you have, right, with companies that are $20 million, $50 million, the type of conversations you have with business leaders who run organizations at $5 million is very different from the type of conversations you're going to have with enterprise clients, right? The type of language you use when you're dealing with a $500 million company is very different from the type of language you're dealing with when you're dealing with a $5 million company, right? And it's not that some of those conversations and even negotiations, or when you talk to on-site technical team, you may feel like, hey, I may not have what it takes, but it's not necessarily you. It's maybe that you need to get acclimatized to that experience, and you need a mentor to help you understand that, and to help you kind of really leverage that opportunity and get acclimatized to it. So put things in context, and mentors are hard to come by. If you kind of look at what some of the conversations that happened in this session, like from Michael to Amrita, all of these individuals are focusing on one very important thing. They're talking about the learning culture, right? So I'm assuming that there may be many mentors and many programs in an organization like HCL that can really help you bring out the best version of you. Right? Now, I haven't had a lot of experience working with HCL. It's the first time I'm being a part of it, but I have worked very closely with the Shiv Nada Foundation. Now, Mr. Shiv Nada is founder of HCL, and he also has a foundation by the name of Shiv Nada Foundation, which is led by Roshni and Shikha, two amazing individuals, right? And I was in India, in Noida and Gurgaon, working with the Shiv Nada Foundation, because they're trying to really revolutionize education in India, and I'm passionate about education. So I was involved in across a project of 3 years, just working with the foundation to help their leaders tell stories better. And you could literally see the learning culture that is prevalent in the foundation, right? And what you need to come to the table with is the nimbleness, the flexibility to learn and adapt. And when companies around the world come to Sri Lanka and say, look, we're looking for talent, they're not necessarily looking for, hey, how good are you in Java? How good are you in testing, right? And that may be a part of it. But what they're really looking for is agility, right? They're really looking for nimbleness. They're really looking for that fluidity in your ability to grasp what they have to teach you. Because you look at the pandemic, right? Think about the pandemic from a perspective. And there was this whole conversation, this whole dialogue about the relevance of universities, right? And especially in the US, like, why are we paying $200,000, $80,000 for university? When I'm now learning from an online course, and there was this whole argument about what's the value that universities have to provide to us, right? Especially from a technical perspective, technical competency perspective, and one of the projections, and it's really coming true, is that the whole concept of university and knowledge and upskilling, and more importantly, cross-skilling, is going to be embedded with large enterprise organizations, where organizations will have their own universities, like just like Apple, just like Google, just like Producer, just like HCL, and they're able to bring a more tailored, more specific, more accurate application of knowledge and skills to the customers and to problems they're trying to solve, right? So the only thing that's required from you is the nimbleness and the flexibility to grasp that and to adapt that and to really kind of use it. So that nimbleness and flexibility is something that you would want to focus on. My last point is a very important point, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, right? It's about the cross transference of skills. And let me talk to you about this concept. It's a very important concept, right? About how you can become even better at what you do. So in the 17th century, somewhere around the 17th century, there was a Japanese samurai called Miyamoto Musashi, very, very fierce samurai, right? And he wrote a book called the Book of Four Rings. He was a philosopher as well, right? And in this Book of Four Rings, Miyamoto Musashi describes the first, at least to my knowledge, the first account of cross-transference of skills. So he says, listen, if you want to be a good sword fighter, like, a samurai, right? Fighting with the sword, become a painter, right? If you want to be a good sword fighter, become a painter. Like, what does that mean, right? Painting and sword fighting, what's the correlation? Then he says, if you want to be a good archer, archer is someone who shoots from the bow and arrow, right? He says, become a gardener, right? Like, what's the correlation between gardening and shooting from a bow and arrow, right? I mean, completely two different paradigms, right? And then he goes to explain, right? So if you paint calligraphy, right, from a brush on a canvas, the wrist movements that you need to hold the brush is the same wrist movements that you need when you use the sword. So if you want to be a great swordsman, practice painting, right? Archery. One of the most important things in archery is to have patience, because if you release the arrow too soon, you're going to miss the mark. If you release the arrow too fast or too slow, you're going to miss the mark, right? And gardening is something that allows you to grow your level of patience, because you got to be patient if you're going to be a gardener. And the more you practice gardening, the more you will become better at archery. Now, you are in your career, right, and you've invested vertically in a skill. It could be leadership, it could be tech, it could be anything. And you come to this plateau. How you get to the next level is by cross-transference of skills, which is you do something in addition to what you're doing as a main domain, that you're able to learn something in an abstract way and then transfer it back into your core domain. And this is why any great professional, right, around the world has one more thing, a hobby, a sport, a passion that he's tremendously invested in. So if you look at, some of you ask questions about leadership, and if you look at any great CEO, any great COO, vice president, or whatever you want to call it, they have one more domain they invest in, right? And that domain allows them to transfer the learning and transfer the knowledge that they gain in an abstract way into their core domain. One of the most important things that people ask me is, "Hey, Dhananjay, how do you become a great speaker?" Because part of my job is to really help leaders articulate messages and really help them change the narrative in cultures and organizations. And the number one thing that I tell them to do is go and do dancing, right? Dancing helps you become a great speaker, right? And for me, I have 3 years of my life I dedicated to professional dancing, right? And that really helped me build the charisma, the stage presence, the executive presence on stage. It's not by just practicing speaking, it's dancing. So anytime somebody comes and tells me, "Hey, I want to be more confident, I want to be more project my confidence," the first thing I say is, listen, don't read books, don't go to a 3-day training program, just go do dancing. And the skills you learn, the poise, the structure, the movement, you fluidly transfer into your presence as a leader, right? And this cross transference of skills is a very important concept because it uses abstract thinking, right? And abstract thinking is one of the foundational measures of how a civilization grows, right? Your ability to think in abstract terms. So if you really thinking about, hey, how do I look at problems in a different way? How do I abstract solutions? The best thing for you to do is, hey, don't keep knocking at the same door, go do something else that complements it, and then kind of bring that skills back into your core domain, right? And it's a very important principle of performance. So if I cap it all into one, move away from the I-centric attitude, what's it for me, what's my job title, what am I, and go into a us. And when you're in an us-centric mode, the question you ask is not, hey, what are the roles available, right? And what are the jobs that are available? It's different. The question that you ask is, what type of problems are you guys solving, right? What kind of challenges do you have in tech? What kind of problems are you solving in health tech? Is it genomic sequencing? Are we trying to reduce the cost per sequencing? And then the whole type of questions that you ask change. You want to be in a place that's solving cutting edge problems, right? And not giving cutting edge designations. It's completely two different things. So shift from the I-centric to a us-centric attitude. Learn from failing, be a part of an organization like HCL that allows you to fail fast and fail often, right? Because not many companies can do that. By doing that, you become an adventurer, and being an adventurer is is a really important component of your growth, right? Find mentors. You need sponsors. You need to be in an environment that has a higher mean performance, but at the same time allows you to get great mentors and great advisors that can help your life and help guide your life. And mentorship is a core role of your success. And always remember the cross-transference of skills. Invest in additional domains than your core skill. Learn the concept of abstract thinking and really move from an I-shaped resource into a T-shaped resource and into an M-shaped resource that really kind of increases the value, not only to the organization that you serve, but also kind of to society at large, right? And you're able to really mobilize your skills across a wide spectrum of challenges and scenarios. So those are my 5 key principles to take your performance to the next level. And I'm sure organizations like HCL will provide, a tremendous opportunity for you to do so, because smart people love to work with smart people, right? And that's the really fundamental thing that I want you to take away from this, is that smart people love to work with smart people. And if you use these 5 principles and you really become smart about the way you approach things, approach your career, approach the way you solve problems, other smart people will embrace you. And that's going to be a tribe. And you'd be far better off being in a tribe of smart people than being the smartest people in a group of really average people. And that's what I want to leave with you. Harsha, over to you. More than happy to answer a few questions.
Thanks, Dhananjay. That was wow. You covered many areas. You mentioned about moving from I-centric to us-centric. If the company demands you to perform better, if the company is going to push you to be harder, join and look for cultures like that, because those things will automatically push us to the next level. And also you just said, be adventurous. The bus story is shared. Trust me, 100% I agree with you. It really, really works. And those guys sitting in the front are mostly number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the classroom order as well. It's a good one. Dhananjay, we do have a couple of questions. I mean, there are a flow of questions coming our way. So let me start off with some questions from my end. First one goes as, it's coming from Vishmi Veerasinghe, and he says, I'm working professionally with 4 years of experience. I've always feel stuck in my career despite my qualification experience. How do I come out with this situation?
Right, Vishmi, that's a very interesting question, and it's natural for you to feel stuck in your environment. The first question you got to ask is, can the environment I'm in right now give me the next level of opportunity and next level of growth? So you may be in an environment that can't afford to give you, because you are growing faster than the organization, right? And that's a critical question. I love this question, because if you're a real top talent, you want to be in an organization that grows faster than you, right? So every day you're getting challenges that you can't manage. You're getting challenges and opportunities that you're finding it difficult to handle. That's when you know that the org is going faster than you. So what you need to do is really understand, hey, look, if it's not a problem of my performance, is my company growing fast? Am I outgrowing my organization? And what you want to do is transpose yourself into an environment that is actually growing faster than you.
Thank you, Dhananjay. We also have another question coming from Irandhi Vatsala. It's relevant for people who are mostly in the certain middle age, right? It says, what is your suggestion for middle-aged working professionals for career success?
The number one suggestion I have, Vatsala, is for you to really explore additional domains that you can get into to supplement your career, right? So for example, if you are a project manager, hey, can I go and become a specialist in BFSI, banking, finance, insurance, domain specialization? Can I go and, if I'm a domain specialist, can I go and specialize in low code, no code tech, which may be the next wave in technology, right? So if you're middle age, and then this, it's very important. Middle age is the best age. I'm just telling you, right? There's nothing bad about it. Middle age is the best age because you're at the right altitude to know what you want to do, right? So you look at what's coming up ahead in terms of the growing domains, industries, tech. Here's what I know. How can I now go across? So investing in some of that is really going to allow you to grab more opportunities around you. Yeah.
Dhananjay, I was question coming on. I don't have the name of the person. It just says, what would like to tell the young school leavers and freshers in Sri Lanka? Any advice that you're going to share with this group of people?
Absolutely. I stop watching the news is number one, right? Get off Facebook is number two, right? Number three is that there are so many people that can spin negatives, right? Our as humans, our natural inclination is to highlight negative news. The more we look at negative news, the more kind of we are limited to understand what's there for us. Let me tell you a very important thing in school leavers as well as everybody listening in, right? So, when you start off a career, if you perform well, you get to a certain level. If you're an exceptional performer, you get to, absolutely different level. But if you want to get to the 0.01% of your track, you have to be invited to solve a problem that nobody else can solve. That's it. So you have to be willing to really be able to become problem solvers, not being comfortable in a problem-less world or a problem-less era, right? So the more solving mindset you build, the more invitations you will have to become great at what you do. That's the mindset you guys need to develop.
Having the right mindset. Yes, indeed. And the next one is, how can people evolve fast enough to give a world-class delivery? It's a very generic question.
Generic question. So if you're talking from a tech perspective delivery, then it's about having the right teams with the right mindset, with the right nimbleness and flexibility, right? Easier said than done. Many companies can't do it. It takes ages to do it. If you're talking about public speaking, I think it's about just training your ear, be in an environment where you're listening to delivery and communication delivery in a constant basis. And once you train your ear, you can automatically train your brain and your mind.
True. Last question rather. It's coming from Shafin Bozo. What's the best way to tune your attitude, or how? And to be the best version of your own and to be a great leader.
Yeah,
so it's actually three has.
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's being around other leaders, right? Being around other leaders. And I'm telling you, some of the greatest leaders in the world are absolutely humble. Right? They are the simplest people that love to spend your time. They love to spend their time with you as long as you reach out to them, right? I've met some amazing leaders across the world, and every time I meet them, even if it's just for 5 to 10 minutes, the type of growth and the amount of growth that you get is tremendous. So you want to really ask yourself, who are the 5 people that you associate every day? If you are not associating people that are thinking differently, that are looking at problems differently, and that are challenging you in a different way to think, then you're plateauing. So I'd advise you to seek out environments and teams and tribes that really are a couple of notches higher than what you're thinking, and differently in thinking, and then associate them, and then you'll see your attitude will automatically change.
Dhananjay, thank you so much for that speech. That was very inspirational. Definitely just give us a lot of insights about how it's going to go. People, obviously our listeners, as I said, we have 2,000 plus people are currently listening to you. And it's gradually increasing as we speak. And then I'm sure all of going to take your tips as well. So Dhananjay, thanks again for joining our call. Then I'm going to go back to my team again. We asked a couple of questions from our audience earlier. And it's time to find our winner for the question. Let's see who the winner who have actually won our gift pack from HCL. Okay, there he is. Abdul, our team will get in touch with you just to get your information. And then once we receive your information, and then we're going to have a package will be sent across to you. So congratulations, well done. And then we have a couple of other questions as well. Will There we go. HCL Technologies Sri Lanka was in news recently for taking up over 20% of the offices of which commercial project? Was it Cinema Life, Cinema Light, Cinemeric Life? None of the above. Time starting now. Please select the correct answer and then send it to us as fast as you can. Whoever sent the correct answer first will be the winner of an HCL gift voucher, a HCL gift pack from us. Okay. Find the answer, just log in. Right. With that, I'm going to call back to Tantri Vakuntam to come back onto the forum, join us again, just to give word of thanks for all of you for joining us. Tota? Oh, before that, just on the same thing, let me read the second question as well. Answer for the question which you answered. So whoever going to answer that question earlier will be able to. We'll announce who the second winner is for the second question as well. Tota, back to you.
Thank you. So it's been a wonderful 3 hours. I take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you who logged in today. Thank you for taking your time and attending this session with us. I'm sure you've got valuable insights about HCL, the various opportunities that are open, and the HCL culture that we have talked about. I'd like to thank Dhananjay. Dhananjay, thanks for your inspiring motivation speech about the next orbit of growth. Thank you. I also thank all my colleagues who have participated and helped us put this event together. We have multiple opportunities open. I welcome all of you to visit hclsrilanka.com. We have quite a bit of opportunities open on Java full stack, .NET, .NET stack, .NET full stack, Angular, Informatica, SAP, and many other skills. Similarly, we have quite a bit of skills on the infrastructure side in terms of networks, cloud, virtualization, backup, storage, database administration, and so on. We've had a few comments from the people earlier today that they have registered earlier and they have not heard back from us. Thank you for registering with us. We've been a bit overwhelmed with the response in the last week. Give us time till next week and we'll be reaching out to all of you. That said, I'm wishing all of you the very best in your career. I'm looking forward to meet you in our HCL offices. Thank you. Thank you for your time. See you all.